is the Old Lyme Zoning Commission meeting for December of 2020. It is December the 14th, 6:33 p.m. We have our regular members in attendance. Tammy Tinarello. I'm looking here. We have Jane Marsh, Alan Todd. Eyes don't work very well this way. Tammy Tinarello, Jane Marsh, Mike Miller, myself, and Alan Todd as regular members, and we have Michael Barnes as alternate. Let me say that before we officially begin, I would like to welcome Mike Miller to the Zoning Commission. This is Mike's first meeting, and he is replacing Jane Cable. So, Mr. Miller, welcome to
Thank
the
you.
Old Lyme Zoning Commission.
Glad to be aboard.
Great. We're glad to have you. All right. Before we get into the public hearings, I would like to make a change and ask for a motion for the agenda change. The public hearings, I would like to switch items 3 and items 4. I would like to make item 4, item 3, and item 3, item 4 for both the public hearings. Can we mute that?
I don't know who's doing that. Let's see.
Can you please mute yourself if you're on your computer or on your phones for right now? We're getting some feedback. So may I please request the motion for the agenda change in the hearings between item 3 and 4?
So moved.
Okay, Jane Marsh, second.
I second it.
Second, I think, was Alan. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Nay? And abstain. Okay, the motion passes. We will
Thank you very
adjust the
much.
agenda accordingly.
Paul, I just want to chime in really quick just to say that if people are on the phone and you need to mute yourself, you can also press *6. And then if you want to unmute, you press *6 again.
Right, there's also something at the bottom of the page as well if you're on video.
Yep.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay, let's move into our first agenda item under the public hearings. We have a special permit application to permit the addition of rowing shell garage on a non-conforming lot on property located at 176 Boston Post Road. Blood Street Partners LLC are the applicants and owners. I will first go off to Madam Secretary.
Thank you. I'm reading the legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Commission of the Town of Old Lyme will hold a public hearing at its regular meeting on Monday, December 14th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. via WebEx to consider and hear comments on the following. Special permit application to permit the addition of a rowing shell garage on a non-conforming lot on property located at 176 Boston Post Road, Street Partners LLC, applicants owners. Special permit application to permit the removal and reconstruction of 2 non-conforming structures, house and garage, to be rebuilt in more conforming locations on a non-conforming lot on property located at 56 Seaview Road, DeVoe Architects applicants. Special permit application and municipal coastal site plan review application to permit the use of the property for nonprofit and educational activities for the relocation of the Roger Tory Peterson Estuary Center located at 100 Lime Street, Connecticut Audubon Society applicant. At this hearing, interested parties may be heard and written communications received. Copies of the applications are in the Land Use Office at 52 Lime Street, Old Lyme, Connecticut. And this notice was published in the New London Day on Tuesday, December 1st, 2020, and again on Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. So that's the legal notice. And then get the right set of exhibits. This is 76. Okay. So we have 4 exhibits. A is a special permit application dated 9/23/20 with the statement of use. Exhibit B is the proposed zoning location survey of 176 Boston Post Road dated July 24th, 2019, revised twice July 23rd and September 24th, 2020. Exhibit C, exterior elevations of proposed boathouse prepared by John Parker. And Exhibit D, the legal notice that I just read. So those are all the exhibits for now.
Okay. So, the applicant.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Michael Ferguson, and I'm one of the owners of this property. Thank you for taking our case and considering it. I know you have a full agenda this evening, particularly with the sewers at Old Lyme Shores ahead of you, so I thought I'd be able to move through this rather expeditiously. This is an application for a special permit per your regulations under section 9.1.3. We are a residential property at 176 Boston Post Road. It's a non-conforming property in a C30 zone. As you're aware, we've obtained a variance from the ZBA. It's a unanimous decision to construct a rowing shell garage on the north side of our residential property. Before we dive into the particulars, I thought I'd provide you just with a short bit of background. I'm sure you're all familiar with the wonderful Emerson Boathouse at Haynes Park. When the boathouse was renovated and reconstructed a number of years ago, one of the conditions of construction strongly advocated by the Parks and Recs Commission was that there was to be no storage of private watercraft, whether it be rowing shells or other, even if a fee in the boathouse. Thus, anyone who owns their own rowing shell, and usually they're 1 or 2 man rowing shells, singles or doubles they're called, is required to car top their boat to Haynes Park in order to row on Rogers Lake. So with that background, we can kind of fast forward, if you will, to 2019. The application before you is relates to a small 2-bedroom house located at 176 Boston Post Road, whose rear property line abuts the east end of Haynes Park. This house had been lived in by a woman for over 40 years, by a person over 40 years, and in 2019 it was put up for sale. Recognizing that it was a valuable property because it was priced to sell at the time, and the potential to store privately owned rowing shells there, a group of 6 people, I being one of them, and I own my own rowing shell, and a number of people own, well, I own 2 rowing shells, and a number of people own 1 or 2 rowing shells from our group, came together quickly to purchase the property. What we're now proposing is to build an attractive and proportional addition running north from the back side of the property to store rowing shells. There'll be indoor racks for approximately 12 rowing shells. No additional living space is created. And to get to the particulars of the zoning issues, this lot sits on 0.22 acres, which is about 9,705 square feet. A conforming lot would be 0.69 acres or 30,000 square feet. Most of the surrounding lots are similarly non-conforming. However, our property is one of the smallest in the entire C30 zone there that runs along Boston Post Road. I have some information which was entered into the ZBA record on the surrounding properties and the relative size. If the commission believes this is relevant, I can present that to you. The square footage of the existing structure is only 830 square feet, and the square footage of the proposed addition is 760 square feet. The lot coverage of the property is currently 8.5%, and we would be increasing under this proposal to 16.5%, which is within the 20% maximum of the zoning regulations. We have offsetting rear and front yard setbacks because setbacks. The front yard setback actually goes further north than the rear setback does to the south. So it's basically anything. There's nothing we can do with this property unless we get a variance and permission from you all. Therefore, we're just seeking a special permit to expand a non-conforming lot. Specifically, we're looking for relief under section 9.1 of the zoning regulations. 9.1.3, I should say. And with that, I'll just open it up to any questions you may have.
Okay. Before we take questions, Michael, can we once again ensure that we are on mute? There's some shuffling of papers that's going on in the background. That's a little disconcerting. So please, if you can check to make sure you are muted. Thank you. Okay, Michael. Anyone else? Go ahead. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for Mr. Ferguson? Okay, commission members, do you have any questions of Mr. Ferguson?
So is it correct? This is in a commercial 30 zone, this lot? Am I looking at it correctly?
That's correct. Actually, the C30 zone extends all along Boston Post Road, and it extends to some of the small cottages that are on the lake as well. There are about 22 properties in the C30 zone. 2 of those are big ones, which is the park and the cemetery, which aren't really either residential, well, in some definition of residential, or commercial. And so, you know, and the average square foot of the park and average square foot in the zone is about a little over an acre. So our 0.22 acres is one of the smaller properties.
So the regulation 9.1.3 definitely applies to the commercial zone as well?
Yes, that's what I was told. I don't know if Dan can offer any insight at all, but I was told that once we got a ZBA approval that we needed, because we're non-conforming a lot and we're a non-conforming property, that we needed to go for the zoning commission as well.
Okay.
Yes, Jane, that's how the regulations read. Any non-conforming lot like this, with an expansion that requires a variance, needs a special permit.
So and it applies to the commercial zone as well?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Well, I won't sit here and study while everybody else is waiting for me.
Okay, so we'll move on, Jane.
Yes,
That's
go
okay,
ahead.
fine. Okay. Anybody else on the commission have any questions? Okay, and then is there anyone in the audience that would like to have any additional comment on this application? Okay, that being said, and silence being golden, I will entertain a motion that the hearing on the special permit application for the addition of a rowing shell garage on a non-conforming lot and property located at 176 Boston Post Road, Blood Street Partners, LLC, is closed. May I please have a motion?
So moved.
I would so move.
Okay, Alan, would you like the second?
I'll second, yes.
Okay, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. The public hearing for the rowing shells is closed.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, item 2 on the public hearings, special permit application to permit the removal and reconstruction of 2 non-conforming structures, house and garage to be rebuilt in more conforming location on a non-conforming lot on property located at 56 Seaview Road, Nouveau Architects applicants. Madam Secretary.
All right, we have Exhibit A, which is the special permit application dated September 30th, 2020, with the statement of use. Exhibit A1 is municipal coastal site plan review application. Exhibit B is the site development plan and coastal plan dated May 27th. Exhibit C is the plot plan with proposed grade dated July 20, 2020, revised July 28th, 2020, August 20th, and September 29th, 2020, prepared by DeVoe Architects. Exhibit D is the first floor plan. Exhibit E is the existing house plan, basement plan, and attic and roof plan. F is existing garage plan and elevations dated May 20th. And Exhibit G is the legal notice.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll turn it over to the applicants.
Okay, good evening. Good evening. Jared DeVoe of DeVoe Architects. We are the applicant and agent for 56 Seaview Road for David Fournier.
I'm David DeVoe.
We're here with a residential project that requires a special permit approval per section 9.1.3, expansion of existing building on the non-conforming lot. Our project is 56 Seaview Road. It's in an R10 district, requiring 1,000 square feet for lots of minimum size. The project is located in Point Woods community. This project lot size is 9,442 square feet, which is 558 square feet less than what's required. Our project was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals September 16th, 2020 meeting. We had variances were granted and attached those in the application. In addition, site development plan, our public area management application submitted and was also approved at the Board of Appeals September meeting, and I attached that as well as TEP. Just to give you a project overview, it is the removal and reconstruction of two existing non-conforming garage structures to be rebuilt in more conforming locations on conforming lot. Photos that we can share, anyone had not been out to the site, just let us know, we can share the photos. We can also review all those drawings that we did submitted, which I think would be helpful to explain and understand the project. So what I'll do is I'm going to here and go to our plans. All right, so orient unit on the property is to the right is the water Long Island Sound. It's a long narrow lot. This is existing conditions on the property. There's existing two-bay garage located under the street. That house structure is located pretty much midway on the property. The existing property is a existing walkway that leads to existing site steps along the south property line. There's an existing deck, as well as existing site retaining wall and additional site retaining walls closer to the water. I'll go down to the existing, just to relate to you what we're existing floor plans, or the main floor plan is in the center. The street side is at the bottom of the village, and the water is at and site stairs to the south property. So the existing footprint is feet overall. It's the back, as mentioned there before, and which is located where the retaining wall below. There is an area to the left of, on the left side of the drawing. There is greater than 6-foot headroom in that space, which is the existing plan there. As you can see, it's mostly exposed ledge with similar to a walkout area on the water side. There's over 10 feet of headroom at that point. The street is the west, just a very low profile structure. South elevation gives you an idea of how, given that the house is midway located on existing site steps. The rear east side faces the water, and that's where it's most height due to the lowest grade at that point.
You can see the walkout. 4 windows are shown, and then at that point, if you were to walk out, you would still be roughly 6 to 8 feet above the grade where the existing retaining wall is.
And there's a really sloped site, so our existing height from average is 22. Show you the garage. Existing 2-bay garage, has some sheds off to the back of it, which faces the house, and it's a simple structure with a hip roof.
Roughly an 18 by 18 square, as you can see in the right-hand side of the drawing. It is just off street, so you can barely fit one car in front of the garage without it being out on the street. So we're going to try to remedy that a bit.
So before we post plans, to show you our okay.
Cool. One more.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Here, we're right again. So you notice to your left, the water is to your right. In our plot plan here, we color-coded it to help out a little bit here. The yellow lines indicate the property setbacks for the R10 district. A couple of overlays on the property. We have our blue setback, which is indicated by this line, the right, and the coastal resource back line, which runs through the existing house. I'm showing the zone to the right, a zone X to the left. And for the most part, all our scope of work is beyond the B zone, so none of our work is in the B zone. Where the existing structures are for the garage located in this area. House up over here. Taking our one-bay garage, we decided to set it back about 10 feet so that we reduce some of that non-conformity and also provide more off-street park. Which allows us to here so we can do maintaining the existing walk along the south property. The green for the house proposed, what we're proposing is that the north side of the house is completely in a conforming location. The new date. some of the non-conforming area in the southwest corner.
Just of note, on some property, goes through the building will stay in the same footprint location there, but as you will see when we show you the second floor, we are going to build the second floor in that buildable area.
In the conforming lot. Review the tab over our proposed. So our proposed floor plans.
This one. Um, right hand view is the second floor plan, and as you can see, most of the building is to the north side of the lot. There is a flat roof portion over the first, held back. As you can see on the drawing, there's a dotted line there that indicates the property line setback. So we've limited the construction beyond that.
Conforming location. So this is complying to the half story per the zoning district. It is 628 square feet for this second floor area, which is where it's headroom is greater than 6 feet. 647 square feet to be allowed. In the upper left-hand corner, we just did a little bit of a section to indicate, just as David mentioned, the second floor half story is within the conforming area on the lot, and going to closest to the abutter on the south side.
Yeah, the second floor of the building has a very, very low profile. Perimeter walls of it have low headroom. They're only 5 foot 6 along the whole perimeter of the building. So that's a
Proposal made where it was unfinished or non-provided finished area in the available space. You have a walkout lower deck, if you will, under the deck above it, and a deck to the south east side, which allows to access those existing site stairs.
basically the steep portion of the property that currently lower level space. So essentially, we're pretty much just reusing the space that's there.
Right, interesting. Yeah. And our proposed elevation. What we're proposing here is the front elevation. Again, it's the story and a half type view, proposing a camera roof. From the street side here, the height from grade is 22 feet.
Hey, Jerry, you're breaking up a little bit. It's Dan.
Oh, I'm
Perez.
sorry. Oh, hi, Dan. Sure, thank you.
Could you just start over from where you started, maybe 20 seconds ago?
Sure. Were you able to see the proposed elevations? All right, so we'll proceed with these elevations. So the front elevation we're proposing is a handrail style roof. It is maintaining the story and a half look. The height from grade to ridge is 22 feet. Mentioned the conforming where the above is within the conforming location of the property, and there's a roof that runs along the south side. The rear elevation, again, tallest looking part of the house. This is a 4 level, and have that in its front area. As you can see, we still got the 6 feet directly below it. Based on existing average grade, we have a height of 28 feet.
That's what we got our parents for.
We'll just show you one more. And the proposed right side kitchen idea or profile of this garage in the left side. The house is located, or steps will remain existing down to the water. So you really, as we've been looking at drawings that are relatively flat, you can kind of see that the property. So I'm going to return now to the plot plan. Now, okay, so we are in the R2 zone. We are required to have a 10,000 square foot lot. We have an existing 9,042. Just to highlight some of the areas on the picture, we maintain the existing 2.5 story for zoning definition. We are proposing the 2.5 story. Our height, which we have received a variance for, from 22 feet 8 to 28 feet. We have improved the street setback by locating the garage more conforming location. The rear setback was fine. That. We have also improved the setback to property lines. The north side is now conforming with the location. Our floor area when the we have coverage, as well as our total coverage, total lot coverage. We had improved on that. We have 37.2% existing, and we are proposing a 31.3%. So in conclusion, we do feel that this project maintains its location in the neighborhood for the house as well as the garage. We reduced some of the legal pre-existing nonconformities. We're providing compliant building coverage with our proposed project, and has reduced the total lot coverage and made it more conforming. We have a compliant half story for square footage and location. For our site work, we are proposing a new retaining wall at the garage. Grading is minimal, as we will restore everything to the original grading. As mentioned, we had received our variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, as well as our site development plan approval. If there's any questions?
Is that pathway that goes along the side of the property, is that public access or other access besides just your own property?
No, it's completely doable.
Really? Okay.
There are that's one. This is not one of the properties as a.
Okay.
You probably very much to each other.
Commission members, any other questions? Shane, did we get your question answered?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, what I thought. Okay, nothing from the commissioners. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions or would like to speak on this application? Okay. Once again, with no questions, then I will request a motion that we close agenda item number 2 for the special permit application to permit the removal and reconstruction of 2 non-conforming structures, house and garage, to be rebuilt in more conforming locations on a non-conforming lot on property located at 56 Seaview Road, DeVoe Architects applicants. A motion to close the public hearing.
So
I
moved.
would so move.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, Alan, and Jane Marsh second. Okay. This public hearing is now closed. So with the change between agenda items 3 and 4, the next item will be the special permit application to permit a centralized gravity sewer system and associated improvements for the Old Colony Beach Club Association and the Old Lyme Shores Beach Association. At this juncture, I will be recusing myself from this item, and I will turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Alan Todd.
Okay, Paul, so first order of business would be, hearing a lot of background there. First order of business will be to appoint a replacement for Paul for this discussion. Michael Barnes, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So that would become you for this next session.
Sounds good.
Hey, Alan,
Yes,
it's Dan Beret. I don't believe, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe, since this is Mike's first meeting, that he was privy to last meeting. So since I don't believe he's reviewed the YouTube video of that meeting, we should probably seat someone from Mike if possible as well.
two Mikes, so did I have confusion? I meant Mike Barnes to be the appointed alternate.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Mike Miller, the new member.
And Mike,
Unless,
because
Mike, you were on the call.
so
Go ahead,
Mike
Alan,
Miller,
I'm
a question, Mike Miller,
Yep.
did you listen to the previous meeting information?
I did not participate in the previous meeting.
So you would not be a voting member for this particular discussion?
That's correct.
Okay. Are we okay, Dan?
Yeah, if Maria or Catherine are on, they could be seated. I know, I'm not sure if Paul has an update on Maria. I know she had a headache.
I didn't hear whether either one of those were on. Are they there?
I do not see them listed.
I don't think so.
Okay, we
Okay.
can proceed with the 4 members, and then I'll have to work with Mike Miller if this gets continued to see if he can either listen to the last meeting recording on this, or I'll talk to Maria to see if she can get updated on this meeting recording. So I'll have to take that into account, and we'll have to see if you guys have enough information to move forward. But you still can vote on this since you have a quorum if you feel that you've got enough information.
Okay, understood. Jane Marsh, we have new documents and maybe some additional notice. Could you update us all on that?
We have some new exhibits. We have Exhibit I, which is an email from Tom Metcalf dated December 8th, 2020. Read his conversation with Marcy Bulent at Connecticut DEEP regarding flood management, dredging, and fill application and the general permit for discharge and stormwater. We have Exhibit J, letter from Tom Metcalf, PE, dated December 7th, 2020, with review comments on the application. We have Exhibit K, letter from Matt Willis, dated December 10th, 2020, concerning impact of alleged restriction concerning 308 Gorton Avenue. Exhibit L, Jim Otis from Fussin O'Neill, letter dated December 11th, 2020, responded to Tom Metcalf's letter dated December 7th. And Exhibit M, Jim Otis from Fuss and O'Neill, letter dated December 11th, 2020, responding to comments and concerns the commission brought up at the November 9th public hearing. Exhibit N is the letter from Fire Marshal dated December 14th, 2020 with comments.
That's everything?
That's all the new exhibits.
Okay, well, at this point, we'll turn it over to the applicants to continue their presentation. We go to Jim on that.
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much. Again, for the record, my name is James Otis. I'm a licensed professional engineer at Fuss and O'Neill in Manchester, Connecticut. And I'm here on behalf of the applicant to provide the commission with additional information, I guess, about the special permit application, which we presented in November. We gave a fairly detailed presentation. My goal for tonight is to go over, respond to some of the technical comments made by the commission, questions and suggestions for providing additional information. I'll also respond to or bring you up to speed on our response to the town engineer's letter, which we received. His letter was dated December 7th. And we did see the fire marshal's letter today, and I can speak briefly at the end of my discussion about that as well. I think with me tonight, Attorney Bill McCoy of Heller and McCoy is also online, and I believe one or two Kurt Mailman and perhaps Doug Brzee of Fuss and O'Neill are listening in too to help answer any questions that may come up later. And as you know, this, yeah.
I am. Do you know the fullness of this meeting?
Okay, I'm going to turn off my camera and start sharing. I thought I heard a question. Hold on one second here. Okay, can folks see my screen and hear my voice?
Not yet. I can't see your screen.
All right, here we go. Let's try it again. How about now?
Yes.
All right. Let me see if I can reduce this. There's a little window here with faces. Let me see if I can get rid of that. All right. So on November 9th, the commissioners had a number of questions and asked for more information, primarily related to the proposed bioxide facility on Gorton Avenue. And so one of our letters that we submitted, I believe it was Exhibit M, included additional information in response to some of the commissioners' questions. And I want to start off by, some of the questions related to the fact and question why we located the proposed bioxide facility shown on the screen in the southwest corner of the parcel near 303 Gorton Avenue. And regarding that, the town engineer indicated in his review letter dated December 7th, which I believe is Exhibit J, that he generally agrees with the reasons we gave for locating the proposed facility in this southwest corner. We believe that, this appears to be the best location from a technical standpoint, and I'll review those reasons. However, we do have additional information because the commission asked us to bring it regarding a conceptual location of this located farther north, which I'll show you in a minute. But just to recap, to refresh the commission's memory, one of the reasons, the first reason we located the facility where we show it on this site plan is because the association shed and driveway are already located in this location. And so we proposed the location of the bioxide facility in the southwest corner so that we don't disturb a new area or a larger area or create more new impervious area on the property. This location is currently occupied by an existing shed and an existing old basketball court, and I'll show you a picture of that. Actually, I can show it to you right now. This is a picture of what's out there today, and the proposed facility would be located in that same general area. The second reason we put it there is there would not be as much open contiguous area for a future play field on site if we were to, develop this facility, say, farther to the west or in the middle of the property. The proposed location requires less site grading and little or no improvements to the public roadway or the drainage system that exists in Gordon Avenue. The proposed location provides the shortest distance and the shortest run for the bioxide feed line, which runs from this building on the right to the proposed public sewer in Route 156. This location provides the shortest run for that bioxide system, and it also minimizes the potential for this bioxide line to encroach near the 75-foot setback to the wells that are located across the street. The driveway itself is closer to Route 156 to provide ample space for truck turning movement in and out of the driveway, and to minimize the distance that trucks need to drive up Gordon Avenue from the state road. And finally, this location does meet the zoning regulations for minimum side yard, front yard, and rear yard setbacks in the zoning regulations, and that's documented in the general bulk regulations table that is on the site plan. We meet all of the setback requirements and height and coverage requirements in the regulations. And as we didn't talk about this with the town engineer, and the town engineer didn't comment on it. He agreed with the technical reasons for putting it in the southwest corner, but the applicant believes that the proposed development may be more visually appealing, or would be more visually appealing than the existing old basketball court and the shed, which are out there today. And one of the commissioners hadn't been to the site, and so we provided this photograph of the before. Now, as requested by one of the commissioners at the November meeting requested a plan that depicts the delivery truck turning movement associated with the site plan that we submitted. And so we enclose that in our letter to the commission. And, this depicts the movement of a vehicle that would deliver bioxide to the facility, a truck similar in size and appearance to a residential oil truck. And that truck, in this figure, it shows how much room it would take for the truck to, proceed down the road and back up into the driveway, deliver the bioxide, and then pull forward and leave the site. And we know from this depiction that the truck needs 75, 80 feet of roadway beyond the end of the driveway in order to make that turn. And what we've done as a lead into the next plan, a conceptual site plan showing what this thing would look like if we moved it farther up the road. If you look carefully, you can see on your screen a red triangle and two green rectangles, and that sort of represents how far up the road these truck movements suggest we could move the bioxide facility without making any improvements to the existing roadway. In other words, the existing road would allow for a truck to enter and exit the driveway if we moved it 80 feet to the north. This is a conceptual site plan that we included for the commission's information. Again, as stated previously, Fuss & O'Neill Consulting Engineers and Tom Metcalf, EELS, agree that the proposed location for the bioxide facility in the southwest corner of the site makes probably the most sense from a technical standpoint, but we wanted to share this site plan for the commission's consideration. And as you can see, while this location would move the facility farther away from 303 Gorton Avenue, it would be the same distance approximately from 306, but it would move this closer to 310 Gorton Avenue. In order to keep the bioxide line outside the 75-foot setback for the wells that are located across the street for 306 and 310, we would simply route the bioxide line, come out of the building and come over at an angle, as one of the commissioners had suggested or pointed out. And so this is a conceptual site plan being provided in accordance with one of the commissioners' requests, so they can visualize an alternate location. The letter that, before I go on, are there any questions about that? I'm gonna move on past the bioxide site plan and talk about the last issue that the commissioner asked about related to the bioxide facility. But
I do have a question. Sorry, Michael Barnes, zoning. You make mention of moving the building location would then put it within the well radius of 310, but it appears on your other plan that it already is also going through the well radius of the property on Shore Road. Am I seeing that correctly? Your version is much more clear than mine.
I'm sorry, no, I don't think I don't agree. The only component that needs to stay out of the 75-foot well radius is the line that contains the bioxide that in the original site plan, that I don't know if you can see the cursor, that comes straight out of the rectangle, the building on the right, and then would come down the road. And if it's okay for the driveway or for the fence or for anything else to be, within 75-foot radius of a well. Under the alternate site plan that we prepared at the commission's request, in order to make this site plan work, we would deflect the bioxide line, which is not the dark green electrical line, but the line parallel to it, from the building at an angle, and that would be more than 75 feet from the wells. So we would not be so the driveway would be within 75 feet of the wells, but that's not what we're trying to keep, more than 75 feet away from the wells. It's just the bioxide feed.
What about that well radius line that's closer to Shore Road?
Oh, that's the 100-foot setback from the wetlands. Are you talking about this line here? Let me zoom in on it. This line.
Trying to see it here. Hold on. Nope, not that one. Keep going down. To your right. It's right through where it says trench repair. I'm not sure if that's it's hard to tell off of this.
Oh, I see. You're down in this corner here. Let me see. Yeah, you're referring to this. There is a 75-foot radius on a well at this location. And that well is, this area is a public road, and I know that the town is planning a sanitary sewer in this road. We were talking about keeping that bioxide line that's on private property outside of that 75-foot radius on this plan.
And specifically about the siting of the location, like what I believe what we were trying to look for in your conceptual plan was basically sitting on the complete opposite side of the property, not in the middle, like closer to the Amtrak line. is I think what we were
Yeah.
intending to see as a conceptual.
And as I mentioned earlier, in order for trucks to be able to pull in and out of the driveway, based on the existing configuration of the roadway, we wouldn't be able to move the bioxide facility further north than, say, 80 feet because the town road doesn't have a cul-de-sac. We'd have to, if we moved it further to the north, we'd be turning around in somebody's driveway, or which is unacceptable.
Or you could just encompass your driveway onto that lot that you have. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have the turnaround be in the road. As per se, if the dioxide place was located just outside the 30-foot setback line, closest to the railroad, your truck would be able to pull up on Gorton Avenue and back up to your dioxide plant. It doesn't have to be a straight run, like for instance.
Yeah, we didn't propose to locate the bioxide facility, up in the towards the middle of the site and build a large driveway or a K-turn on the property. That's not what we're proposing. We propose to leave the existing driveway, put the proposed driveway where the existing driveway is, But
really, the driveway is all over the thing. I mean, I was just down there yesterday, and they're using that entire frontage as a driveway. And trucks and vehicles parked all over.
Yeah, it's right now. I think that's a temporary stockpile area that Connecticut Water Company is using. That's not the existing, but the existing driveway that's out there is located, essentially opposite the basketball court, which is located in this portion. You can see the dashed outline for the basketball court between these two catch basins. So anyway, that's what's going on. This is we wanted to show the commission the truck turning template, which they requested, and a conceptual site plan related to that. We also included in the letter, at the request of one of the commissioners, there was a question about the potential for future intensification of land use after sewer improvements are constructed. So we indicated and we attached excerpts from the 2017 environmental impact evaluation review by the state of Connecticut and the record of decision. And this attachment contains information in that essentially discusses how local zoning regulation restrictions, clean water funding agreement conditions, and the FEMA regulations would restrict, limit future development and intensification of land use. So we think this addresses, this attachment addresses the questions or the concerns about, what effect would the development of sewers have in the beach association areas. And finally, this letter that we submitted to the commission to address their comments, although not specifically discussed at the public hearing, we did note that the proposed showers in Old Lyme Shores Beach Association and the proposed boat or beach access ramp that was shown in the application are no longer planned to be constructed in Old Lyme Shores Beach Association, and those can be considered removed from the application. And that's, I'll mention that again when I talk about Tom Metcalf's letter, which I'm going to go to next, talk about that next. Are there any other questions about, our response to some of the commissioners' comments last time that I just went over before I talk about Tom Metcalf's letter?
I'm just looking at attachment number 4 that you just referenced, which is the state's letter. And of course, attached to that is something with response to comment 6, 7, 8, 9. Do I know, or can I find out what it is that is being responded to so I can make sense of that?
Yeah, we highlighted the ones that there were comments from the public regarding the EIE that the record of decision and the record of decision included responses. And so we highlighted the ones that speak to the issue of, what controls are in place or what measures are in place to limit, intensification of use. So certainly the questions that these responses are responding to, we did not attach those to the letter. We could provide those as a condition of approval or otherwise. I don't have them at my fingertips right now.
I guess I don't have the yellow on my copy because it was just an email of an email. So I wasn't able to see what part should I actually be looking at of those
Okay.
responses.
All right. Well, I didn't. Okay.
It's number.
We can retransmit this. We can. I don't know. We could.
Well, it's number 9.
Yeah, it's number 9. It's response to comment 9, and which is page 10, as indicated in the corner. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling up and down quickly.
Yeah.
So it's comment 9, and that speaks to the local zoning regulations and policy.
Right.
It also speaks about DEP agency funding, and then response to comment 10.
Yep.
And all of that, which goes on through page 12, and response to comment 17 at the top of page 15.
All right.
Moving on, actually, there's a response to comment 23 as well that was highlighted in the PDF that we sent over, which is called page 18 in the lower right-hand corner.
Yep, I see it. Thank you. That's
Yep.
very helpful.
Yeah. So those contain the punchline or the information, which if you read that, you'll understand how future intensification is limited by FEMA, by the state DEP, and by the town's zoning regulations.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So
Could I ask one question?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Bill Randazzo. One quick question. It could be a quick answer for you. The 75 feet that you talked.
Bill, you have to
Yes.
wait. You have to wait until the commission is done answering questions. You can ask a question.
Oh,
at the
okay.
end
I'm
when the
sorry.
commission's
I
done.
thought you were just asking questions to the group. I'm sorry.
Through the commission.
Wait till the end, Bill.
Yep. Sorry, I turned off my camera. I minimized the camera, so I thought a commissioner was talking to me. Sorry about that. So I'm not going to go through. We received the town engineer's letter dated December 7th. We got it on December 8th. It's a number of pages long, and we responded. I responded to those comments. And in general, I think we believe, the applicant believes we addressed all of Tom Metcalf's comments adequately. And we attached to our letter, this is a copy of our letter, supplemental information that addressed most of Tom's comments. And I'll show you, the kinds of things that we attached. There are 1 or 2 items that we didn't attach that I think were relatively minor and could be addressed as conditions of approval. So, he asked for documentation that the Board of Selectmen or that the town accepted the easements for the sewers in the public right-of-ways, public roadways in Portland Avenue, Gordon Avenue Extension, Hart Place, and so forth. So we gave them a copy of the meeting minutes from the Board of Selectmen meeting from September. Tom asked for copies of details, erosion and sediment control and sewer details, which I'm flipping through quickly, for what he called the Series 400 plans, which were really the shared sewer infrastructure in Portland Avenue, Pond Road, or Hartown Place. And so we gave him those details. They're very similar to the details that we provided for some of the other work in the associations, and we didn't want to be redundant in the original application, so we left it out, but we've provided those. Tom also referenced the fact that he understood that after we applied for the permit in September, the DOT approved the proposed sewer in Route 156, and he's correct. And he asked me to provide, and I provided for the record a copy of the design approval letter from the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Also, In Tom's letter, he pointed out that he understood that the Old Lyme Shores Beach Association got a general permit from the Connecticut DEP for the discharge of stormwater and dewatering wastewaters from construction activities. And he was under the impression that the Old Colony Beach Club Association had not received that permit. At the time we submitted the application in September, they had not received it, and that's why it was not included in the application. However, on October 29th of October, after we submitted the application, they did receive that permit. So we attached it to our response to Tom Metcalf's letter. And finally, he one of his comments related to a construction detail for the proposed pavers that would be used to build the driveway at the proposed bioxide facility. So, we included in our response a copy of the detail for that. Again, I'm not going to talk about all his other comments, but unless the commission wants me to go through line by line, that's the situation with Tom's letter. I think we have those
I'm on a
comments.
Zoom call. What are you doing?
Those covered. I think I hear somebody talking on the phone. If you're not, if you could mute your microphones, if you're not talking or asking a question, that would be helpful. Finally, the last piece of correspondence that, from a technical standpoint, we received today. We were made aware of a letter dated today from the fire marshal regarding his review of the special permit application. And we didn't get a chance to reply to this in writing, but we did review the comments, and there are two basic comments. One was that the fire marshal feels that if we put a gate around the bioxide facility, which was shown on this rendering here, he requested that the opening to that gate be increased from 10 feet, which is shown on our site plan and on this, to 16 feet to allow better access for emergency personnel, for fire trucks, and that those gates open fully, 180 degrees. In other words, you can open them all the way. And we have no problem with that. We'd be happy to provide 16-foot gates. The other option that I forgot to mention earlier is, on our original site plan, we showed or proposed, a 6-foot fence around the perimeter of our bioxide facility. And our conceptual site plan, which kind of shows, an alternate arrangement, we took the fence off, and instead of that, we put a row of evergreen trees along the south property line to screen the facility from 303. I think one of the comments we heard perhaps from one of the neighbors is putting a fence around the buildings might, make what's going on around those buildings less visible. And so the applicant is willing to either make the gate larger or eliminate the fence around the perimeter of this thing completely, in order to, address the fire marshal's comment about having unfettered access through the gate. And lastly, his last comment, or his second comment, was that the office requests that they receive copies of all safety data sheets for any chemicals and materials. We provided safety data sheets for the bioxide liquid, and that's the only chemical or material that, as stated in the application, would be stored in this facility. And so that material data sheet is in the application submitted on September 30th, 2020 in tab B. So the fire marshal should have that in his possession now. And that's about it. I've seen other correspondence, but from Attorney Matt Willis, but I'm not going to speak to that. I think if the commission wants to hear about that or has questions about that, Attorney Bill McCoy of Heller McCoy is also here today. And with that, are there any any questions that the commission has from a technical standpoint with regard to the fire marshal or town engineer or the supplemental information I provided with regard to the site plan.
I have a question. Is it okay for the system to be located? So like if there are these force mains bringing the sewer or the effluent to East Lyme, like, is it okay that this is not at the end of the system, but partially up through the system? I'm not sure if I'm wording that correctly, but basically like your system isn't near where all the sewers are going to be coming, like not where they start. So like, I guess I don't have a full understanding of maybe how this works. So this injects this chemical into the sewers to keep the smell down. Is that?
It drips, yes, it drips peroxide liquid into the sewers in order to control odors, and a side effect is that it controls corrosion of concrete. And the reason it's selected, it's located at this proposed location is it needs to be located outside the 100-year floodplain. It needs to be located near the forced sewer main, the main pipe corridor. It needs to be accessible, easily accessible to facilitate maintenance. So putting it near Route 156 is, not only puts it inside the 100-year floodplain, but it makes it accessible for maintenance and in deliveries. And it has to be on a piece of property that is approved by the DEP and the Old Lyme Shores Board of Governors, or that's within the control of the applicants being the Old Lyme Shores Beach Association and the Old Colony Beach Club Association. So this was the best location from that, to satisfy those criteria.
And then I'm still caught on the siting of this whole thing, and I apologize to keep going over this, but I feel like one person's being disadvantaged more than others in the neighborhood. And I still, even from a technical standpoint, you guys make points about, not having any more pervious surfaces or reducing the impervious surfaces and leaving the driveway where it is, et cetera, et cetera. But if you go out there now, that whole site's occupied. So it's going to be somewhere on that entire site right now is disturbed. And moving this building closer to the Amtrak line, creating a driveway that's a little bit bigger than what you guys wanted to do with this straight in, straight out. I mean, yeah, that sounds the best and the easiest, but I don't think that's the best and the easiest for the neighborhood. We really wanted to see a plan with this showing almost down by the train tracks without that setback. Not so much, I'm not saying set it in the middle of your property so that everywhere in the middle becomes unusable. By pushing it off to the side closest to the railroad tracks, you're able to still utilize portions of the middle of your property or accomplish that goal that you had said. But I'm not so much worried about creating new impervious surfaces as I'm worried about the neighborhood having to stare at this thing. And that's just my personal opinion. I don't know how my other commissioner members feel, but like if you can accomplish all of this stuff by siting in another 80 feet to the left, I don't see why we're not doing that.
If I could speak to that, this is Bill McCoy from Heller McCoy. I would suggest that one of the things that you want to look at is the town's engineer, in fact, agrees with the technical location of it. And I think that's kind of important to appreciate as a member of the commission, that this has been fully reviewed by Tom Metcalf, who also believes that the proposed location is in fact appropriate. The other thing that I would like to speak to in terms of the question you're asking is that the current use of this property is by a storage shed and a candidly not very well kept up basketball court. The end product, if this special permit is granted, will be two sheds in the similar location of the present shed, and the ability to improve the recreational use of the remainder of the property, so that the concept of being put on the neighborhood, I think this is what the end product is going to be. I think the other thing to consider is that a lot of the comments from the public relate to, unfortunately, the use of this property as a staging area by Connecticut Water Company, which has nothing to do with this application. And in fairness to the applicant, we're not Connecticut Water Company. Connecticut Water Company as a utility lives under very different circumstances than we do. They're allowed to do a whole lot of stuff, quite frankly, that we're not allowed to do as the applicant because we're not a utility. So to the extent that a lot of the comment relates to the staging area issues and the hubbub of the staging area issues, I think to some extent, and this is the point of what this special permit is about, which is all of the permitting required to put in the sewers that are required by a DEEP consent decree. And so I think at some point it's important for the commission to look at the totality of circumstances that we're dealing with and the end that's going to be there. And as it relates to the bioxide facility, that's going to be housed in a shed, which is very similar to the shed that currently exists on the site right now in a similar location. So for purposes of continuing the discussion, I think that that's something to consider for purposes of this.
Yeah, those are all valid points, and I respect the content and your response. However, I know Connecticut Water isn't you guys, and you aren't. You kind of get in this shrouded area. You're kind of being overcasted, I guess, because Connecticut Water is occupying the property currently. I understand that that's no relevancy on the applicant or the application. That's Connecticut Water doing their own thing. But as it sits, they're disturbing the whole site. And we're using this basis that, we're just trying to keep it over here, keep a low impact, and we're not doing anything. But the fact of the matter is the whole site's occupied right now. So it's already been disturbed. And it has to be fixed in order to be put back to the way it was to be just another shed like it was. Like you're saying, we're just adding another shed, but really you're not just adding another shed. You're adding a dioxide plant where it has truck deliveries that, dispense a chemical. And that's not just another shed. That's something more than a shed. And with that in mind, Tom Metcalf said, it technically would work maybe better in that corner, but I haven't heard anyone say that it can't work further down the line and that the technical standards can't be met further down the line. All I'm hearing is this, we could do it over here. This is where it's best situated. Best situated for whom? For the applicant, obviously, because they want to be able to use the best portion of their land for that purpose and utilize the remainder of their land for what they have planned for the future. I just think they can accomplish all those goals by sitting this thing on the complete opposite side of the property. My own technical standpoint perspective. I'm not an engineer. I'm not pretending to be. I'm just looking at it as I've been around enough applications, done a lot of stuff in zoning and engineering and citing of site plans to understand that some modifications can be made to make this more fruitful for everybody.
And I'm not quarreling that point with you, but I've always been of the impression, and I would suggest the commission consider this, that the citing of the technical part of an application is best left to the engineers as opposed to something else. And I think that there are two issues, and I just want to raise this issue. If the concern is what's been happening during the occupation of Connecticut Water Company, that's not relevant to this application. And so
completely understand.
Yeah, and I'm therefore, for the record, I'm I guess trying to refocus this onto the fact that the bioxide check is a small portion of the total application. And I will tell you, having been involved in the planning process, that we met with a number of people from the town, including people from the Board of Selectmen, people from Land Use Planning, Connecticut Water Company, Mr. Metcalf, And the consensus and what drove this application is a desire to have everything on the table for all the permits that we needed to move the project along. And that's what this is. And so if we highlight just the bioxide portion of this, I think it somewhat misses the point. That's all.
Other commissioners have questions, clarifications they want to raise?
I think I would like to see some other options as well, besides the 80-foot option that you presented.
Well, as Mr., again, for the record, Bill McCoy, as Mr. Otis referenced, and I will tell you that Town Council, Mr. Willis, will reconfirm this. We cannot use areas that we don't have control over. And so we have no other areas that this can be placed in to meet the needs of the service that's being provided. I know that at prior meetings, there was discussion about using other property in other locations. We don't have control over those other locations. And I would strongly recommend that you consult with Mr. Willis about that very issue, because I know that he will reaffirm that requiring the applicant on other locations probably is not something that would be appropriate in this given situation unless there is some other site within what we have control of that could be used.
Hi, this is Dan Beret, the land use coordinator. I did discuss this with Matt Willis already. I didn't have him prepare a memo because we didn't think it was necessary at this point. But I would say we would agree with Attorney McCoy in that the applicant can only propose something that on land that they control. The town is not currently part of this application. And so the applicant doesn't control the land that the town owns. I know that the town may hook into this potentially in the future, but we're only looking at the application from Old Lyme Shores and Old Lyme Colony Beach. So that was, and I did have a discussion with Attorney Willis on this matter, and we really have to judge the application based on the zoning regs. Now, that does not speak to whether or not it's feasible to move the bioxide facility somewhere else on the property that would make it more appealing to the board. The board in the special permit process has the purview to set conditions pretty broadly in this instance on the sites that are proposed. So if the board feels it would be necessary for an approval or would like to see feasibility of another location, on a different area of the Gorton Ave property, I think that is something certainly the board could do. But the board needs to concentrate really on the application and on what the applicant can control and what they propose.
I would agree. I'm sorry if I feel like I've gotten off task on anything. I haven't really talked about any other parcel besides this specific one personally. I just feel that it's not a good spot, not a good fit.
I think at this point, we need to gather the facts from the applicant in the way he's making his presentation, his application, and in due course, we'll deliberate all of those considerations and ultimately make some decisions. But the focus for right now during this public hearing let's ask the questions that they can answer for us or clarify for us. Any other commissioners wish to speak up before we open it to public comment? I guess if not hearing from other commissioners, we'll open it to public comment for comment questions. Anyone go ahead?
I'd like to comment.
Hello, hi. I'd like to make a comment if I could.
I can't see who this
Your
is.
name and where you live for the record.
Oh, I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. I'm not on Zoom or WebEx.
Yeah, but you still need to state your name and where you live. For the
Okay,
record.
yeah, I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm Bill Randazzo, 40 Sea Spray Road. I guess I got a couple of questions. I want to follow up, I guess, from the last meeting we had last month, and we talked about alternative sites. And you know, there was a person from Portland Avenue and myself mentioned that site across the street from the church. And I'm just wondering, did anybody, as an applicant or the engineering firm, touch base with the town or any of the other proposals we talked about to negotiate a piece of property that would be conducive to the betterment of this whole system versus, you know, where it's being planned today? I guess that's my first question. Because they've had a month. I hopefully in that month somebody try to talk to the town or the federal government or the state or something to get another piece of property. The second thing I have is I hate to say this in a nasty way, but I think we're spitting into the wind here. We're putting the cart before the horse. Right now, this project for Gorton Ave is Old Lyme Shores property, and at some point we're going to have Old Lyme Shores, Old Colony, Soundview, Miami, and whatever other beaches might join in later be part of this. So you're talking about some major, you know, sewage going down there, and I'm not sure down the road is that plant going to have to get bigger to support that extra, you know, mass coming down. So I'm not sure about that. The thing I'm talking about is, as a resident of Old Lyme Shores, this piece of property has not been approved by our association to go forward with. It might have came up with one of our board members or something as an opportunity or an option to use this piece of property, but we have not voted as an association to let this property go. And as far as I'm concerned, as a property owner, I bought down here because it was a rec field. And it's no longer become a rec field. It's going to be an industrial park. And I just, you know, honestly, from an emotional standpoint, I don't know what to say. This is crazy. I'm giving up a nice field that we all own here in Old Lyme Shores to put a chemical plant in there. To me, it just doesn't make sense when we haven't looked at the other options or possibilities of another piece of property all along 156. It hasn't been done. No one to this date has come up and said, yes, we've talked to the town. Yes, we've talked to this landowner. Yes, we've done this. No one has said that. So far I'm seeing is the only option we have is Gorton Ave. And I refuse to believe that. And that's all I have to say.
This is Jim Otis again, Fuss and O'Neill. I can respond to, I think, some of the points that Mr. Randazzo made, if you'd like. His first question was, you know, has or did the applicant negotiate with owners of other properties besides the property that's within their control? And the short answer is no. And as Attorney McCoy just pointed out, it's not the typical for the applicant to propose to locate a facility on land that it doesn't own or have control over. So the applicant is proposing this location because under its control and it meets the other siting criteria that the state and the zoning regulations discuss with regard to the floodplain and having access, ready access. The second comment was, you know, will this, he called it a plant, the bioxide facility have to get larger? And the answer is no. The bioxide facility is sized appropriately for the proposed sewer development in the beach areas in Old Lyme, in the not only Old Colony Beach Club and Old Lyme Shores, but also, you know, the other sewer areas that are going to tie in the future, Miami Beach Association and the town Soundview area. And then the third point I'd like to address, and you know, Mr. Randazzo's comment about the this thing occupying an area that is currently you know, green space and could be used as a play field. One of the reasons that Fuss and O'Neill proposed the location in the southwest corner, and Tom Metcalf agreed, was that in doing so, we would preserve the largest. I put up on the screen. This is the property here. The vast majority of the parcel would remain open and undeveloped. It certainly needs to be restored after Connecticut Water Company is done using it as a stockpile area. But this large square area would still be available for use as a play field or open space. And so we think this is the best location in order to preserve this most of the property that's not currently occupied by an asphalt basketball court or an existing shed. Essentially, the same part of the property that's open today would remain open, in the future.
Well, again, like I stated before, I just feel bad that you guys are walking through this whole process here, going to put this plant on a piece of property that's in a residential area, right, without having the Association of Old Lyme Shores vote to have that property there. So all I'm saying to you guys is you better have a plan B and C, because plan A is not going to work. I can tell you right now, from talking to most of our association members, this is not going to pass. We're not going to allow it. We're not going to give up our recreation field, right, when there's other options that are available out there. And that's all I'm telling you.
You got that right.
It's a simple process here. You guys are pushing to have a plant, not you guys, whoever's doing this, to put a plant on our recreation field, right? This association, again, is not going to vote this in. So you're spinning your wheels for nothing. You better start looking for an alternative place to place this plant, because it's not going to happen in this association.
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
That matter will be internal deliberation for your association. But I mean, if the applicant gets approved for this and then you guys vote that down, that's the applicant's risk. We've taken this application in with signatures from your association's heads. So if that occurs, that occurs. That is outside of the zoning commission's control. So I know you've.
No, I understand. I understand that. But what I'm trying to do is make a.
They can't really judge this based on what your association may or may not vote. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I hopefully that they do, because you're putting a lot of time, effort, engineering work, sweat, tears, and money into a place where there's a high probability it's not going to happen. Let it be from our association or let it be from the zoning board. All I'm saying is, the whole time I've been hearing this for months, right, is I've yet to hear of an alternative plan where else it could go. Everybody's telling me that this person's got to file this person's got to file this. Well, could somebody file something? Could someone talk to the town and see if we use the property across from the church? Could someone go up the road? I don't know where this thing has got to be for the whole site. Does it have to be in the beginning of the thing, in the middle of it, or towards the end of it? If it's got to be towards the beginning of it, there's property across the street from Miami Beach. There's some empty lots right there. Has anybody talked to those people? I mean, this is what I'm getting at, is we haven't looked.
Bill, I think your concerns have been noted, and I
Okay.
don't want you to jackhammer this too hard. I think they understand if your association decides not to do that, that's fine. I mean, the town and myself can't, I did mention this to Tim, the first selectman, but it's up to the applicant to change their application. And if Old Lyme Shores does not choose to do that, that is their decision. And the commission has to vote on the application in front of them. If something happens with that facility in the future, then the beach associations, as the applicants, will have to come back for a new permit process. So I think that
I understand.
So I think we appreciate you.
And I have one more comment. Jim Otis again, Fuss and O'Neill. My understanding is the Board of Governors has, for Old Lyme Shores Beach Association may have talked this over. So in any case, I don't want to beleaguer the conversation, but it has been or is being discussed by the Board of Governors.
The Board of Governors can discuss all they want, unless the board does it. Unless the, oh, God, forget it.
Ellen, when you can, I'd like to speak also.
Yes, let's move on. Thank you for the input that we've had. Who's next?
My name's Jack Reynolds, and I'd like to speak if I could.
Go ahead.
My wife and I live at 41 Saltair in Oline Shores, and we also own, our family owns 306 Gordon, where my son Bill Reynolds lives. I spoke to you before at the last meeting. We did bring a document to the town to be included, and it wasn't listed. And I know that there was, so it went to your offices, I believe. And I know an attorney from the beach brought vintage maps that showed this property, and that too wasn't included. So I'm not sure why our data didn't get there and others did. I also have to protest one thing. I have a few things I'd like to say, Ellen, if I may, but I oppose the fact, I'd like to be able to give a statement and not feel that Jim Otis, who I respect as an engineer, and Bill McCoy, who I respect as an attorney, are sitting there enabled to refute my statement like they just did with Bill Randazzo. We weren't permitted to refute their statements and to interrupt if they had an opportunity, lengthy though it be, to give a presentation, and no one could interrupt them. I stand behind that completely, but I'd like the same respect. I'm not an engineer. I'm not an attorney, but so I don't know all the technical details of what works conveniently for somebody, but I'm a resident and a citizen, resident of Oline and a property owner across the street, and I'd like to be heard. I've seen Bill McCoy's legal opinion concerning the deed restriction. If any of you haven't read it, I would encourage you to read the deed restriction. I don't know if it's legally binding. I'm not an attorney. And an attorney to do that will charge a lot of money. But I do know ethics. What the people that donated that property clearly wanted. I mean, I can read it to you. The above described premises shall be used as a playfield or a field house for use only of members of the Oline Shores Beach Association and for no other purposes. Ethically, that's what they wanted, and that's the intention of that property. It's got a deed restriction on it, and that should be honored. I know it's not a town obligation to enforce deed restrictions, but I urge you, don't be complicit in breaking it. Don't increase your liability. As Bill Randazzo is saying, there's a lot of reasons. We've got this massive project in front of you. And the one thing that everybody's furious about is a 12 by 14 foot shed. They've got a 48 by 20 some foot fence around it, right across the street facing from our house, 20 feet away from 303's bedroom window. Now they've moved it. Get rid of the fence. That would be a start. Move the building. I mean, everybody's got a shed near that size in their backyard, but they've elaborated to a 20-foot storage, which is absurd, to a paved parking lot instead of a basketball court, which had been used, as sloppy as it was, as unmaintained as it was being used by kids as basketball. It's just infuriating to me that they take a paved basketball court and call it a parking lot big enough that a truck can turn around. If that truck is only the size of that which delivers oil to our houses, we'd better put in much, much bigger driveways, because it doesn't need that kind of space to deliver bioxide. We can have also newspaper reports from Maine of bioxide plants, and if the liquid bioxide changes to powder, if it becomes dehydrated, it's explosive. It's not safe. The least we could do is, as Mr. Barnes is saying, move it down to the other end. The best we could do is, as Dennis from Soundview and Bill Randazzo have said to this board before and again tonight, it's a bureaucratic mess that the town has to limit itself to the proposal when the town is sitting there, whether it's the Board of Zoning Commission or the Board of Selectmen, with a much, much better answer. Oline Shores is going to wind up charging Soundview in the town for the use of that property. And they're afraid that the town, if they put it on that property, would charge Oline Shores. There's a lot of hidden agendas going on here, and it's time that people recognize it. Let me tell you one other thing. Oline Shores has been paying minimal taxes to the town for that property because it's listed as non-buildable. since the 70s. So if now all of a sudden that deed non-billable restriction is removed, do they owe back taxes for 30 years, 50 years rather, to the town because it was buildable after all? This is just inappropriate. It's a terrible decision, and there are alternatives. It could be moved to the end of the lot. It could be just a 12 by 14 foot building with no fence and no 20-foot storage facility. They're hiding, just as some meetings, they're using the bioxide to hide other sorts of construction right across the house, the road from houses and right next to bedroom windows. It's just inappropriate. I hope the ethics issue is as big as the legal issue. It's wrong, and I hope this board would see fit to say, this is just not right. There are alternatives. There are easy alternatives. And I hope you can see it. The original picture that you've all seen and that we've sent to town a couple of times has been changed. Apparently they've moved it back 30 feet and now they're offering to get rid of the fence. Well, let's get rid of all of it. If the building is needed and it needs to be there, move it towards the railroad tracks. Let's not have a 20-foot storage shed approved and a 6 feet. It was 8 feet. Now they've reduced it by statute to a 6-foot fence. 48 feet by 20 some feet. I mean, it's a massive complex and it's just unethical. Thank you.
Mr. Reynolds, thank you.
Alan, I can respond to. I
want us to hold one second here. What I want us to do is not to get into big debates on all these things. We're trying to collect public comment. That was a solid, well-heard public comment, and it's been documented, and we have some documentation related to it. And when we get to the point we deliberate those things, all of that will be taken into consideration. But let's just keep going, collecting the public comment at this point.
Thank you, Alan.
Doug Whalen.
So yeah, let me just respond to the first part of that. So I wasn't in the office when the documentation was dropped off, and Kim and Kim did not know who dropped that off. But what we did have done was we had Matt Willis, the town zoning attorney, provide a memo to the zoning commission regarding the deed restriction on the property, and it is a civil matter. It is not for the town to enforce, and they can't really take that into consideration in their deliberation or their decision. If you, as an association, decide against this, or if any member of the public who lives nearby can try to enforce that deed restriction, but the memo from the town attorney makes clear that the towns are not in the business of enforcing private deed restrictions. It's just not really a possibility. It's not practical. There are deed restrictions on many properties throughout the town, and it's not for the town to enforce these civil restrictions. So I know there's concerns of I can't say the word, of the ethics of the situation, but that's kind of outside the purview of the zoning commission's approval or denial.
I'd
be happy to provide that to anyone who would like to look at it.
The town, however, has collected taxes based on that deed restriction. The town has collected taxes on it being a non-buildable lot. And if you don't have to enforce it, I agree, but you don't have to be complicit in the breaking of it either.
So what the tax issue is between the assessor and the association. The zoning commission has no bearing on taxes or back taxes or what this approval how it may affect that.
Well,
Doug Whalen would like to comment.
And who is this, please?
Doug Whalen.
Okay.
Doug Whalen, 41 Old County Road, chairman of the Old County Beach Club Association. Just want to make a couple of comments on this application. Number one is all three beach associations, Old Lyme Shores, Miami Beach, and Old County Beach, both their chairmans, presidents, and WPCA members all sat down, and this has been, we went over months and months and months of agony looking at places to put this bioxide station. This is a small part of the big picture. The big picture is what we're asking for approval tonight for. The small part, which is the bioxide station, we looked at as many locations as we could, and we really found that this location was the best location that we came up with because it cleans up an eyesore that was there. It also, there's no hidden agendas here. The bioxide station is just that, a bioxide station. There's no additional uses that we plan on using for that. We felt that this is the best place, and the reason we agreed to this is because the experts, not only Fuss and O'Neill, but all the experts advised us that this was the best location. So I just want to let everybody know that there was thought put into this. It wasn't just willy-nilly. We just picked a spot and said, this is where it's going to go. We tried every location that we could. And also the location that we picked is basically, there was a shed there. There's a shed there now. There's a trailer there now. It's going to clean that location up, and it's actually going to beautify it. And as far as beautification goes, there's always room for improvement with beautification, and I'm sure that we would work with the neighbors to make that look presentable. But as far as the location goes, that is the best location according to the engineers and according to the professionals that are designing this very large, over $6 million project, which is what we're asking for permission for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whalen. Anyone else want to make a comment?
I see Bill is trying to speak, but Bill, you must be on mute. Can you try to unmute yourself? That's still on mute. We can't hear you. Are you using can you nod if you're using your phone? You're using your phone to press the *6 button on your phone.
Do you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
No, the gentleman that just talked from Old Colony, I appreciate what he's saying, how it's going to beautify our area. Remember, this is our area, Old Lyme Shores. It's not Old Colony's area. And what we have right there right now is what we'd like. And until we get more finances to fix, the basketball court and things like that, that's our business and not his. The other thing is, he mentioned they looked at multiple sites. Could he please list the multiple sites he had that they reviewed, and what was the outcome of those sites? That's all I'm asking.
Mr. Whalen, you still there? You want to make a response to that or not?
No, I gave you my response in public.
Okay, thank you.
He's two chickens.
Anybody else want to speak?
Quickly, Alan, just to make a comment to the public, we cannot have people name calling each other and making negative comments about each other in this meeting. If you do so, we will have to mute you, and that is not something we want to do. So please refrain from any name calling or anything like that.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I was seeking if there was any additional public comment on the project from anyone out there to identify themselves now, or we'll approach the.
There's another man named Bill who I think is trying to talk, but we can't hear him.
Yeah.
If I'm able to speak, I could.
Can you just wait for 1 second? We have someone who's been waving his hand the whole time, but we just can't hear him. His audio doesn't seem to be working. If you're on the phone, you just need to press the *6. We can see you, so I'm not sure if you're on the phone or just your computer, but we can't hear you.
Call in, Bill.
I'm really sorry, but we're not able to hear anything that you're saying. You can try, if you go to the town website, you can get the call-in number, and you can try calling in to see if that will work. And while we wait for that, we can move on to the next person who just wanted to speak.
Oh, sure. This is John Reynolds. I live on 18 Saltaire. And I'd like to kind of address 2 or 3 of the things that Bill Randazzo also brought up. First off, when the recent person talked about the best location, I'm sure other beaches consider it the best location because it's free. And although Old Lyme Shores is the applicant, as these other beaches join in, their land could also be considered for this, location of this. I appreciate that currently Old Lyme Shores is applied, but it's going to be servicing multiple beaches and then potentially the town. So I think the concept of best location is very time sensitive. I also think the idea of it being beautified and working with the neighbors is very presumptuous. There's been absolutely no input looked for from the neighbors. And although I understand that the water project is not the same project as the sewer project, if it's any indication as to how the town, how officials work with the neighbors, it's been a disgrace. They've been completely dismissive and disrespectful. And then finally, one of 2 of the rationales about this location is about distance from wells. And once again, I know we're talking about the 75 feet from wells. Those residents up in that area have been informed to some extent that those wells are going to have to be abandoned anyway. That as this sewer project comes in and as the water is made readily accessible, just like the residents in the beaches that are going to be serviced, these town residents are going to have to abandon their wells and join both water and sewer. So that as a rationale might be going away completely. I definitely not only agree with Bill Randazzo, but the location in the far corner would be much more preservative of the intention of a recreation field. It's at best convenient and potentially malicious to put a sewage treatment plant next to a person's backyard. It's, if anything, I feel like it's mean-spirited. Nobody here would want that next to their home. And when somebody compares it to the existing shed, we can't say the existing shed has anything similar to a sewage treatment plant. I don't care if it's the size, the fence, the trees, it's toxic waste sewage treatment plant. It's different. And so I just hope that the commission entertains it. I have to say, I'm so happy to hear that one of the commissioners was on site today looking at the scenario and is familiar with it. It's a disgrace of what's going on, and I appreciate the hard work and thought that you guys are giving it.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd like to hear from any new person that wants to offer comments. Is there anyone out there, new comments? I can't see if there's people still trying to call in. Can somebody advise me on that?
It appears Bill's still trying to say something.
But we cannot hear him. Other than him, it doesn't look like there's anyone else.
Well, we give it a moment, at which point I think we've reached a point that I would look for a motion to close the public hearing. Are we at that point?
May I have
Someone
one quick?
else?
Hello?
Mr. Chairman, this is Bill McCoy. Before you do that, I think the applicant would like to recap. Obviously, if there was more comment from the public, I'd appreciate it, but there were a number of things that were said that we haven't responded to yet, and I'd like the opportunity to do that if we could.
Excuse me, can you hear me? Hello?
Who's calling in?
This is Frank Noe.
Okay, Frank, go ahead.
This is Frank Noe. I'm the chairman of the Old Colony Beach WPCA. I'm also a property owner on Gorton Avenue, 75 Gorton Avenue, 71 Gorton Avenue, property owner. I just want to comment on a couple of things. The first thing is the last gentleman called it a treatment plant. This is not a treatment plant. This is simply a storage for chemicals to filter down Gordon Avenue into the force main. So it's not a treatment plant. It's far from a treatment plant. My other comment is I'd like the commission to approve this application based on its merit, based on the fact of meeting the zoning regulations, not on anything other than meeting the zoning regulations. That is the responsibility of the commission, and I understand that I can appreciate moving it from other sites and other places, but that's not the application. So I strongly suggest and hope that the commission would consider the application on its own merit and not by some of these comments that the public has made that have no merit. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Noe.
Thank you.
Any other call in that we haven't heard from? And I guess back to Jim, you want to take it up again, or?
I'll just make a couple of quick comments. There was a comment by one of the residents that, if the bioxide were a powder form or reverted to a powder form, there may be a hazard. The fire marshal reviewed the application and has no concern from a fire safety standpoint. We're using a liquid bioxide. I'm not familiar with what happened in Kennebunkport, Maine, or the state of Maine, but it sounds like they're speaking about a different form of bioxide, some type of powder form, which may be flammable. This is mostly water, the liquid bioxide. And then a footnote to what Frank Noe said. He's correct. This is not a sewage treatment plant. There is no toxic waste. And so I want the commission to, they may remember that from the November presentation, but I wanted to emphasize that.
Thank you, Jim. If there's no further public comment, I would like to.
Mr. Chairman, could I, Frank, this is Bill McCoy. Could I be heard briefly on a couple of legal matters that I think are significant?
Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. You have before you the opinion of Mr. Willis on the issue of the deed restrictions, and it's not an ethical issue. He is saying in very complete terms that it's not within the jurisdiction of this commission to even consider those issues. I think it would be legal error on this part if the commission took into account those issues, to be perfectly honest with you, and I think it is very well on the subject. The other thing that was provided by Mr. Willis that I think is important for the commission to understand is the notion of alternative sites is also not something that this commission has the authority to determine, so long as those sites are not within the control of the applicant. Those are two very critical pieces legally with respect to this application. And finally, I would ask you to consider the technical expertise of not only Fuss and O'Neill, but also your own town engineer as to the location of this facility. This is not a chemical plant. This is not a sewage treatment plant. This is a shed housing a bioxide tank, which is used for the project. So again, I know that you're going to be closing the public hearing, but I would respectfully request that the commission keep its eye on what it can decide legally, as opposed to those public comments which have asked you to consider things that are really outside of your purview. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment.
Thank you, Billy Reynolds. Billy Reynolds.
Hello.
May I have a comment or two?
I don't want to go back over things that have already been said. Unless you have something new, I would.
I'm gonna correct a couple things. I live on 306 Gorton Ave, so you guys have been discussing. I couldn't get on for some reason. I couldn't get a vocal thing. May I have a moment to speak?
Yes, you may.
What Fuss and O'Neill? What was his name? The I don't know, whatever his name was. I have it written down here. Was saying that every truck can turn around and everything else. from the previous 8 months that I've not been able to use my house, they have proven that trucks cannot turn on my street. It is a cluster mess. It is gridlock. Whoever just got off the phone, when he says everything, he's wrong. Everybody is incorrect. I want them to come up on Gorton Ave and sit here for 20 minutes on my picnic table to watch what goes on. It cannot happen. I have lost the use of my house because of Old Lyme Shores. They approving Connecticut Water to use this. I have not been able to, not just me, we can't open our windows. We can't do anything. We have been shut-ins all summer long because Connecticut Water has been using that field. The dust that comes through here is unbelievable. I have eye problems. Everybody has problems, breathing problems. What you're doing to Gorton Ave Extension is, I would come up with the word sinful. Absolutely sinful of what you've been doing to the three houses. People can't turn around. People can't do anything. And I know we're going with the bioxide right today, but it's like one more thing. It's like, oh, good, let's do that. And then we get a chemical treatment plant in our front yard. And he said it's not a chemical treatment plant. He's full of shit. Whoever I just talked to, or whoever I just heard,
we're going to have to cut this off.
Dioxide is a chemical.
Oh, this is not a. We can't have.
You
we can't
don't
have
understand that I have been living with this for 8 months, that I can't open my front door, and I've been trying to behave myself.
That's not the issue before this.
We understand. Well, it's like one more thing of like, let's put another. It is a chemical, and there's been fires and everything else. It is absolutely absurd. Put it in town hall. Put it in anywhere else you want. Don't put it in our front yard. It's sinful for you to do this. For what you've done so far and what you're planning on doing is absolutely crazy.
I think we've heard
my statement.
Ellen, I'd like to make a closing statement too, since
Hello?
that seems to be acceptable.
No, no more. No, I think we.
Hello, this is Mr. Perone from 303 Gorton Avenue. How come I was never told anything at all that you're going to put this thing 5 feet away from my bedroom window? I never got a letter, nothing. I would really like to know.
I don't think we have an answer to that as we sit here, and just we keep hearing a lot of the same, unfortunately. Dan, do you have any more input that you want to put before we go further?
This is Kurt Mielman. Can I address the commission on one minor technical detail? Can you hear me?
Please identify who you are and where you live.
I'm Kurt Mielman at Fuss & O'Neill. I'm a vice president there. I just wanted to give people a little bit of, set them at ease a little bit in the context of the use of the bioxide station. There are several bioxide stations that are currently in use in the vicinity of Old Lyme, including at Point of Woods, also in East Lyme, and several in Waterford as well. So for those of you who think that it's not a safe or a commonly used type of odor and corrosion control in the industry, it's just not so. So I just wanted to add that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mellon. If there's no new public comment, I think we've reached a point we're going to take a motion to end the public hearing. I can't see everybody that's maybe trying to
Actually,
speak.
Alan, Michael Barnes, I just want to add one more comment before you close that public hearing. I'm sorry I waited so long. I do want to make clear that I understand Connecticut Water is not the applicant, and their use of the property specifically has no bearing on your guys' proposed use as the applicant. I want to make it clear that I see the difference and I know the difference between the two, and there's no bias towards your application due to Connecticut water circumstances on the property. I just want to be clear on that, and that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Well, I think it's that point. I'd like to receive a motion to close the public hearing. Commissioners?
A motion to close it.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Michael Barnes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any naysayers? I can't see who was in it, not in it. Was it recorded?
Yes.
Okay. And I think maybe we'll invite Paul back. You there, Paul?
Yep, he's back.
Hi. Okay, have we finished item number 4?
We've completed and closed the public hearing.
Okay, great. All right, the last item under public hearings is the special permit application and municipal coastal site plan review application to permit the use of the property for nonprofit and educational activities for the relocation of the Roger Torrey Peterson Estuary Center located at 100 Lime Street, Connecticut Audubon Society is the applicant. Madam Secretary.
Okay, we have Exhibit A, which is their special permit application dated November 5th, 2020, with the statement of use. We also have Exhibit A1, which is a municipal coastal site plan review application. We have Exhibit B, which are proposed use plans for the basement, Exhibit 10, first floor plans, Exhibit 11, second floor plan, Exhibit 12, and third floor plan, Exhibit 13. We have our Exhibit C, which is an improvement location survey prepared by Doan Engineering dated November 3rd. We have Exhibit D, which is the legal notice that I read right at the beginning of the meeting. Exhibit E was a referral letter to Martha Balint at DEEP. And Exhibit F was a supplemental memorandum to the CAM application. Exhibit G was a letter from John and Barbara Noyes in favor. Exhibit H was a letter from Pamela Hamilton in favor. Exhibit I was a DEEP favorable response. Exhibit J was a letter from Tom Metcalf stating he believes the plans are acceptable from an engineering perspective. Exhibit K is a letter from the Ledge Lake Health District saying the septic system is adequate for described use but may require additional approval if use expanded. Exhibit L, letter dated December 11th from Dave Roberge, Fire Marshal, requesting that the letter be read into the record. And Exhibit M is a letter from Florence Griswold Museum dated December 4th in favor.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And the applicants of the Audubon Society, please.
This is Attorney Michael Cronin of Old Saybrook. I represent the applicant, the Connecticut Audubon Society. I've gotten involved in this case. I'm working as local counsel with Robinson and Cole, who are the general counsel for the affairs of the Connecticut Audubon Society. The property, as indicated in the public notice, is known as 100 Lime Street, and it is known generally as the Bean Thistle Inn. It is the purpose of the application is to relocate the Roger Torrey Peterson Estuary Center, which is now in the Old Arm Shopping Center, to the new site. Requirements under the regulation is that this is a specifically permitted use under the provisions of section 5.2.3. And this use is defined as a special acceptance use as follows, quote, philanthropic, educational, recreation, or religious non-residential use by a duly organized nonprofit entity or government unit, excluding correctional institutions and institutions for the insane. Both of these organizations, the Connecticut Audubon Society and the Roger Torrey Peterson Estuary Center, are nonprofit organizations. This use is specifically allowed under the regulations, which is a RU 40 zone. The participants in this application will be Robert Doan of Doan Engineering, who put together the site plan. He will put the plan up and he will point out certain features he would like the commission to consider. He will also present the coastal area management plan pursuant to an application which we've prepared and filed along with our permit for a special exception. This property is located within 1,000 feet of a coastal resource, and being so, all applications for this type of use, if not otherwise accepted, has to file and approve. Participating also is Michael Brown. He's a member of the board of directors of the Roger Torrey Peterson Estuary Council. He is the project coordinator for the project. We also have Claudia Weicker, who is the chairman of the board of directors of the organization. We also have Alicia Mulatto, which is the director and operator of the organization in its present location in the shopping center. Okay? I'd like to turn this matter over to Bob Doan for a review of the site plan and the CAM application. Bob?
Good evening. I'm Bob Doan. I'm, as Attorney Cronin mentioned, I'm a professional engineer and licensed land surveyor. And I prepared a site plan, and I'd like to share that plan if I'm allowed to share a screen.
Yes, please.
Did that work?
Yep, yes.
Okay, good. Thanks. I'm going to try to enlarge it. Okay. What's before you is 100 Lime Street, which is a 5.6 acre parcel. To the south is the Florence Griswold Museum. To the north is Hamilton property. On the east side is Lime Street, also Boston Post Road. And to the west is the Lieutenant River. This is the Bee and Thistle property. The existing building and the driveways are shown on the property. We have analyzed the use and determined that based on the town's regulations. The use of assembly and office and the dwelling on the north side require 70 parking spaces. We have room to fit 31 existing parking spaces on the site, and we have shown that we can fit 70 spaces on the property without any activity within 100 feet of the inland wetlands that are on the property and the tidal wetlands that are on the lower side. My cursor is going up this is the edge of the Lieutenant River, and these are the inland wetlands, and this is the parking that we could install if need be. We don't think it's necessary, and we are requesting that the commission find under section, I'm sorry, I'm not going to list the right section, but section 18. And Mike, if you could give me the exact regulation, but that allows the parking to be established as required with the proposed use. We don't think it's necessary at this time, but I have demonstrated that we can fit 70 parking spaces on the site.
Yeah, Bob, the specific section
that's
is
mine.
18.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, the specific section is 18.8.1.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, the site has also been analyzed as far as the sanitary system is concerned. This was with the Bee and Thistle. It had lodging and a restaurant, and it has a sanitary system that can handle almost twice what we anticipate the use would generate as far as sewage effluent. And it has been reviewed by Ledgelight Health District and approved for the proposed use without any change to the existing sanitary system. I do show the sanitary system on the site plan. I have submitted a coastal area management application and listed all the resources, and the resources are the Lieutenant River as a coastal resource of water. We have tidal wetlands, and we have inland wetlands, and we have developed shorelands. This was submitted to DEEP for review, and we got a favorable response. And the only issue when we're dealing with coastal waters is that we do not want to preclude the use of the site as for a water dependent use. I expressed in the coastal area management application that I feel that the Roger Torrey Peterson Estuary Center is essentially a water dependent use because of the educational aspect and of the center. There is not a better location that I can think of other than this site. It has inland wetlands, it has tidal wetlands, it has the Lieutenant River, all of which fits very nicely into the mission of the center, and I'll let that topic be expanded on with other speakers. The town engineer, Mr. Metcalf, has reviewed the site plan, and he has determined that it meets all engineering requirements. And with that, I will stop, and I'm available to answer any questions at whatever length is necessary.
Bob, would you review the proposed use of the 3 stories of the
Sure.
existing structure?
Yes,
That's on
I
the
can.
plans that we submitted. Yes, go ahead.
Yep, it's on the architectural plans, which I do not have to share, but I can run through it. There are 4 sheets that were submitted. We start off with the basement plan. The basement plan will be used essentially for storage, and the mechanicals are in the basement. The main floor, the first floor, will be used for meeting rooms, assembly, and lecture rooms. A discovery center, which is a exhibit and kind of a I'm going to use the term laboratory for educational purposes. And they have display rooms for visiting and exhibits. The second floor will be used for their offices. And the third floor will be used for storage. Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
We lose.
I think we're waiting for questions from the commission, if
Yep.
they should have some.
If there are any,
Yeah, I've got some questions.
okay.
In the letter that Dave Roberge wrote,
Oh, I haven't seen that, Jane.
well, the one part of it that is just, I'm going to ask about it, he says that the plans that got submitted to him had potential 4-unit living space. What's that?
I don't know.
So there's nothing in
This is Mike Brown. If I could jump in, I think I can provide an answer. The cottage that is on the property is currently a residential use. I don't know that it's 4 bedrooms. I think it's only 2, but the future potential might be to have 4 rooms for interns on the 3rd floor, but that's down the road and not something that we're currently contemplating.
So, but what is the current use then? Are you contemplating using the residence for the educational application? I mean,
the top floor would be the cottage.
Yes.
Right now we haven't really set the plans for that. It might be used down the road for a visit. It's not for a residential. It would be for like a interns or a visiting scientist.
But at least in this application, everything you're applying for is coming in under the educational
Yes.
use.
That's
There's
correct.
no
Yes.
residential uses, no anything like that.
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm having a little trouble seeing the plan because it's so small.
Sorry.
There's something with an arrow pointing to it that's sort of halfway down. It's a rectangular shape. And
Right here?
No, it's closer to the water. It's a pretty.
Oh, this?
Yeah, what's that?
That's a existing crushed stone patio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what it was used for, but it's an existing feature.
Right. It doesn't. It's not a building.
Oh no, it's not a building. No, it's flush with the ground.
Yeah. And parking spaces that you want us to defer construction, how many would those be?
There would be 49 of them, Jane.
Okay. And is there any landscaping or anything proposed other than what's already there?
No, there is not.
Okay. So none of those little things on the plan are new plantings, they're just what's already there.
They're existing plantings, yes.
All right, my questions.
You guys don't want to preclude the ability to have that dwelling be residential use under this educational thing. You want that flexibility to be built into your application. Is that, am I understanding that correct?
No.
Yes,
No.
that's true.
Okay.
We're just not going to rule on that now. They're putting it in under their educational umbrella for now, and then if they had to do that, they'd come back with something else.
To make sure if they wanted it, that it was, they were going to get it if that was what they were proposing to do. I want to make sure that we're not going to approve this for educational and they're not going to be able to use it for what they need it for if it did need to be a residence for their use.
Hey, Michael, they'll have to make a future application or to either zoning or to the board in order to have that use at this point.
Okay, so it can't be included in this. I got it.
Right. Yeah, it's not included in this application. So my understanding is that will not happen unless an application is made.
Dan is correct.
Got it.
Okay.
Sounds good for me. That's all I got.
Thanks, Mike. Jane, are we, you're good?
I'm good.
Anyone else on the commission? Okay, I have just one question on the parking area, the proposed parking area, the 40, you said the 41 spots.
49.
49 spots. So the question there is, in that plan, the proposal, do you have any provisions for 1 or 2 parking spaces for electrical vehicle charging stations?
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay. The town is currently.
That's a good point.
The town is currently working on a regulation for that. It's not yet finished, but be aware that if you do come back for the addition of that 49 spaces, there may be a regulation that may require it. And again, the key word here is may.
Okay.
Okay.
When we approve a plan showing parking spaces, they don't come back again. It's just that we give them permission not to immediately construct them until there's shows that they actually need it.
Okay.
So we will actually have approved the parking spaces and the design of them and everything else, just as Bob shows on his plan. But they'll get a waiver for constructing them immediately. They won't have to do that.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, anyone in the audience that would like to?
I haven't finished it.
Okay, okay.
Please excuse me, okay?
Go right ahead, Attorney Cronin.
The zoning considerations, I addressed it earlier about being a permitted use in the zone. The zoning history of this property was it had a special exception back in December 11th, 1978. Exactly what that said was unavailable to us because the town records have somehow become unavailable. There was another special exception that was granted in February 20th, 2012, and that was for adding outside service and serving of liquor and food on the patio adjacent to the south side of the facility. So that at both these times, the issues, the basic issues involving the use of the property as a special exception, I suppose should have been and were considered. And of course it was granted. So this basically is the third application, and as set forth herein, we're not really proposing to do anything to the exterior of the property. Anyone who's been on that property would recognize that it's beautifully maintained, and it's actually spectacular for this or any other appropriate use. And it was a great opportunity to get this property, especially in this location, adjacent to the Lieutenant River. And as I indicated earlier, unlike the present use of the property, this additional use for an education center is a conforming use of the property. And so from a zoning perspective, this implements the policies and procedures of zoning. Now, there are some points on the letters that we received. I'd like to go over them briefly. The first is from the town engineer, Tom Metcalf, and I won't read the whole letter, but the phrase at the bottom, which was mentioned by Mr. Doan earlier, quote, "I believe the plan revisions are acceptable from an engineering perspective." And coming from Tom, knowing him and how particular he is, I think that's a pretty conclusive statement here. As stated earlier, all our plans for the improvement of the property relate only to the interior, not the exterior. Next, we inform the, because of the postal resources, we notified the Gateway Authority, the Gateway Commission. We got a very nice letter back from Torrance Downs, the Deputy Director, stating very much enthusiasm and support of the facility, but he states that because we are doing nothing on the exterior of the property, that they are certainly not objecting to this application. They're in favor of it. The next letter we received was from Marcy Bailiff, and this one we have a little bit of a concern about. She is the local representative of the DEEP, and in her letter, she makes this statement. Specific to the CSPR, we note for the record the provision of public access at this site is consistent with water-dependent use policy of the CCMA, which requires boards and commissions to give priority consideration for such uses at waterfront sites and includes public access by definition. We recommend the public access at this site be a condition of CSPR approval to assure CCMA consistency into the future. A public access sign or acknowledgement on or near the entrance will indicate to those that drive by that it is accessible with hours posted as appropriate. We have a real concern with any kind of a condition mandating public access to the property by your board. Our position on the matter, pretty much stated by Bob Doan earlier, who prepared the CAM application. And I'll read you relevant portions of that. Quote, the RTPEC mission is the conservation and stewardship of the coastal and estuarine environment of southeastern Connecticut through a variety of science-based education, research, and advocacy activities. Therefore, occupying property that is adjacent to a coastal and estuarine environment is ideal for the ITPEC. The location will significantly contribute to the public access to a coastal and estuarine environment. And also an answer to a question entitled Identification of Existing and or Proposed Water-Dependent Uses. The reply is, the RTPEC facility will be open to the general public and thus provides access when and as long as the RTPCE is open. Adequate parking will also be provided on site. End of quote. In our statement of use, which is several pages, and I assume your members of the commission had a chance to read it, you will see that well, public access is a big point that they are going to propose for this site. They even stated their hours of operation, which I believe reflect their present hours of operation. And that is, this property will be open 6 days a week to the public. And that will be as part of their operation as a nonprofit organization. Well, that in this location, adjacent to the estuary, have to have estuaries in the name of this organization, we feel is sufficient compliance with providing public access, and that we need not be burdened by a condition that public access be given through some specific deed restriction. We also feel that a deed restriction on this property allowing public access could interfere with the mission that we have here. This property really isn't really designed in its present form or suited to putting in something like a public boat launch or a public dock or something of that sort, and it certainly should not be maintained as a public park. The primary mission of this organization is going to be education. There'll be a lot of people on the property, young people. There are issues of security. There are issues of liability. Of course, you're a private organization. You don't have the general protections for these kind of facilities that a town or the state would under the immunity doctrines. We don't have any, plus there's the cost of insurance. We do appreciate, however, the state's position on this matter, and if the board will not accept what we propose in our application, we would accept a part of a decision, a proposal, to keep the matter open for at least a year, where we could report back to the commission of how we further implement our policies to satisfy the requirements. as I indicated earlier, it's very important that we get a decision on this application, hopefully this evening. Now, going on, we have a letter from the LLHD, that's the Ledge Light Health District, and in discussing the thing, they came to the conclusion that because we were not increasing the need for the property, and that our present capacity exceeds our proposed need, that they don't consider this to be a change in use, even though, as we all know, it is a change in use. So they indicate they approve the project in its present form. That was indicated by Mr. Doan. And we also have the letter from the Fire Marshal, David Roberge, who indicates that he supported the project and for to go forward, but to simply let us know as part of the building permit process, he wants more specific plans to determine the square footages and other things. Obviously concerned about young children being in there for classroom purposes, and we will do that. If the board wishes to make a condition regarding that, we certainly would have no objections. Okay? Now, there is a requirement under your application process about traffic studies. As indicated all the way through, that this property will have a reduction in traffic requirements and all of that, and we would see no need whatever to have to come up with anything like a traffic study on this, and we would require a waiver of that. Also, with reference to Inland Wetlands Commission, we are not proposing anything on this property regarding a change of activity, present activity, within 100 feet of the wetlands. And those are defined on the map. We had to change the layout of the future proposed parking, so it would not come within 100 feet. But that issue has been reviewed with the enforcement agent, and it's been determined that we need not do nothing further with regard to that. Now, we have letters of support, which were noted by Jane in the beginning of the meeting. The Florence Griswold Museum is next door, just south of the property. They have an enthusiastic support for this. They've even said they want to integrate their walking trails with however we want to use our property down the area. The neighbors, the Hamiltons on the south side, have wrote a very nice letter.
North side.
North side, excuse me. Wrote a very nice letter supporting the project. It's almost like they can't wait for it to get in here. And then to the neighbor to the north of the Hamiltons, the Noyes also sent a similar letter. Okay? If the board has any questions of me or anyone else who is participating, or any member of the that we have here for the applicant, please do so. Now the last point I want to make, I did it in my letter when I transmitted it to the board. I've talked about it earlier. In fact, I even mentioned it at the last meeting. This property suddenly became available, and at a very reasonable price, and it's just spectacular for this sort of use. But there were certain conditions. One condition of the sellers required that we close the matter in this year, before December 31st. It's also conditioned upon us receiving approval from the zoning authorities to conduct the activities we're doing here. And using judicial prudence, obviously that's a requirement we have to get. We would like the board, if we think we have met all of the requirements necessary for the board to act on this matter this evening, and we would request to expressly do so, both on the application for special exception and also the CAM report. We've had a tremendous amount of support for this project, and I believe that it's going to be a great asset to the town. Now, the chairman of the board is Claudia Weicker, and she would like to make a statement in support of this application. Okay, Claudia?
Yes, I am
Are you
here.
there?
I am here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't see anyone. I don't know why, but at any rate, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm really very grateful, and our board is very grateful to you for placing this on the agenda this evening. As you've heard from Attorney Cronin, we are under a restriction, actually, which we must remove. A condition in our purchase agreement that that the purchase is contingent upon approval of this application in order to settle before the end of the year, which is the owner's desire. All I can tell you is that the Roger Tory Peterson Estuary Center is very much excited about this particular property, which offers the opportunity to combine an outdoor laboratory, i.e. the river, the wetlands, the inland wetlands, as an incredible teaching opportunity with an indoor facility where we can expand on that in our classes, in our small lectures, and in our workshops. We expect to have citizen science training opportunities there for monitoring our environmental conditions in the area. We also expect to bring our scientists working in the area together in this facility where they can have a place on dry land to have workstations, to meet and to collaborate. And we expect to facilitate conversations on their work and what they're finding and the latest environmental issues of interest with our community at large, with our community associations and with our community leaders. Finally, we're really very much excited that what this property does is it's a reminder of the incredible bond that has existed here between the beauty of nature and the development of a very significant American art movement. It was here on the banks of the Lieutenant River where history, art, and nature collided in a very profound and meaningful way, creating a legacy for our town and for our nation. And I think we all realize that in this COVID-challenged world, so many of our neighbors over this last year have turned to nature for meaning and understanding and distraction from all of the troubles in the world around them. And I find it somewhat hopeful that as we sit here, admittedly virtually, we have the opportunity of creating another place in our town where people will be able to go, to learn about nature, to begin to understand it in a much deeper way, and to find meaning in this world. So with that, I can only thank you for this opportunity to be with you tonight and for your consideration of this matter in such an expeditious way. I really am very appreciative on behalf of the Connecticut Audubon Society, which is a 120-year-old state organization, and the Roger Tory Peterson Estuary Center, which is its regional center, which sits really on the verge of becoming something quite important in the town of Old Lyme. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Claudia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, unless you have any further questions of me or any of my participants, we rest our case.
Yes, sir. I will ask members of the commission, are there any questions? Okay.
No, I think it's a good utilization of the property.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this special application? Okay. Then once again, I will ask for a motion that we close the public hearing on the special permit application and municipal coastal site plan review application to permit the use of the property for nonprofit and educational activities for the relocation of the Roger Tory Peterson Estuary Center located at 100 Lime Street, Connecticut Audubon Society applicant.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That ends the public hearing sections of our agenda for this evening. We'll now move into the regular meeting. And we will, I believe we did also change the order of items. Let me see, is everyone now here that has spoken? Let me go back a little bit. We have had everyone in line, so we'll just keep the regular meeting agenda in place. Okay, first item, special permit application to permit the addition of a rowing shell garage on a non-conforming lot on the property located at 176 Boston Post Road, Blood Street Partners LLC, the applicant's owners. How do we feel about that application?
Well, I still would like Mr. Beret to consider 9.1.32. And I just want to make sure that he doesn't believe that 9.1.3 applies to any and all properties, because it's talking about R10 district there. So I'd really like him just to make sure that because this is not a R10, this is C30. And I rather thought that this section only applied to the R10 zone. So I'd really like him to check that out.
I certainly can follow up with that in the future, but my understanding is I thought 9.1.3.2 provides exceptions to the R10 zone. I believe how 9.1.3 is written does not include any zone. It just talks about non-conforming lots. And I guess I could add, I will certainly double check, but my understanding is the prior person who held my position was not requiring applications to come before you that were deemed by the regulations, and this is something that fell into that vein. But I will double check that, but from my reading of 9.1.3, it applies to any non-conforming lot, and 9.1.3.2 provides exceptions in the R10 zone.
Right, but 9.1.3 is the first section is telling you that except for the R10 zone, there are none of these things are supposed to happen there. So 9.1.3 describes all the rest of the types of property in town, but says that we are not allowed to make, that less non-conforming and all that. The only places we're allowed to make it less non-conforming, but still have it be non-conforming, is the R10 zone. So I just really would like you to read 9.1.3.1 and make sure that there isn't any belief that these sort of more flexible ways we've been reviewing and approving residential uses in the R10 somehow apply to all of the town, because that isn't what's intended by that regulation. I don't know if any other members want to chime in, but
I will certainly go over that with the town attorney to make sure that I am interpreting that correct, and I apologize if there was a mistake.
well, I don't know that there has been, but it just is occurring to me that we see a lot of applications in the R10, and so it might give somebody like you the impression that we do that all over town, but we don't. So if it
Okay, I will certainly look into that.
okay, so I feel a little bit reluctant to make a decision on the application before Dan has had a chance to check that particular item out.
Okay, I would agree.
Well, I guess my only comment, Jane, is if you were to approve the application, there would be no harm. But if we wait on approving the application at this point, it would set the applicant back a month in terms of what they would like to do.
And we can't, if this is not in accordance with zoning, we can't approve it. This is our own regulation. So you really can't just go ahead and approve something and say, oh, mistake or something. We really have to find out.
Okay, I will look into that and report back to you guys next month.
Okay.
If there's some real hardship, we can
Sorry,
always.
Jane, I can't answer you as thoroughly as I'd like because I don't have the regs. I'm actually in Cleveland right now.
I know, and that's why I'm saying. And if it's a super hardship, and it turns out that my concern is not correct, then we might be able to have some kind of special meeting for the rowing shells if that's an issue.
Okay, I will look into that when I get back, and if I was mistaken, I will seek to remedy that with the applicant, and if not, then I will work with the chairman and the rest of you commissioners on trying to potentially do a special meeting to expedite this.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is Michael Ferguson. I know it's not a public comment section, and I don't know if I can ask or make a comment there, or whether that's out of order.
Yeah, we really can't take any input in from anybody right now. I apologize, Michael.
I understand.
Especially if I made a mistake on this.
Right. Okay. All right. So on this item, we are gonna postpone a decision on this. However, it may or may not be postponed until next month. We will wait until we hear from Dan to get a qualification on this item. And then at that point, if need be, like Jane said, we can pull a special meeting together to approve. If there are no other concerns from any other member of the commission. Is there anything else out there? Okay, so then per that, we will wait until we get a clarification and then make a decision on a special meeting. Okay, so I'll take a motion to do that.
Well, I guess we don't have a motion because we're not acting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, all you're doing is continuing the hearing.
Sorry, we're going on hour 4. Okay. Item 2, special permit application to permit the removal and reconstruction of 2 non-conforming structures, house and garage to be rebuilt in more conforming locations on a non-conforming lot and property located at 56 Seaview Road, DeVoe Architects applicants. After hearing any of that, all of that, does the commission have any comments or concerns? Okay, no comments or concerns on that application?
No, I'm pretty satisfied that they've covered all the bases.
Agreed. Yes. Okay, so I will take a motion then that the special permit application for 56 Seaview Road be approved.
I'll make that
So moved.
motion. Okay. I'd like to use our usual format for decision-making, but I'll make that motion or to let Alan make it.
Do we have? the,
Well, I got sent them after hours, so I don't really have, I had one that I could print out, but I don't have all the others, so. But since we're not putting conditions on, if we just say we're using our standard format, I think that'll work out.
Okay, so that's how we'll, yes, the motion will be to use our standard format.
Yeah.
I think I have a copy of that, but I'm not sure either, so, because they did come quite late. So, again, I will take a motion that for the approval of the special permit application on 56 Seaview Road using the zoning commission's paperwork and written order to do this.
Okay, Alan, go ahead.
So moved.
Second was wow.
Alan's making the motion. Second.
Okay. Approved. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Any opposition or abstention? Okay. Item 2 is approved. Item number 3. Special permit application and municipal coastal site plan review application to permit the use of property for nonprofit and educational activities for the relocation of the Rodney Torrey Peterson Estuary Center located at 100 Lime Street, Connecticut Audubon Society applicant. Discussion.
I would like to make a motion that we approve this with conditions.
Go right ahead.
The traffic study, we can determine that we will waive that.
Okay.
We'll allow the deferment on the construction of 49 additional parking spaces as shown on the plan until they are deemed needed either by the ZEO on behalf of the zoning commission or the applicant. And number 3, we will find that the water dependent use as stated by the applicant is deemed sufficient because of the public nature of the applicant and its proposed use. And that number 4, that no residential uses for the property are approved at this time.
So we have 4 conditions. Am I correct?
Yes, and I can supply those to Dan or Kim tomorrow.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, are they requesting the condition that it not be approved for residential use, or are we requesting that condition?
Well, we're saying that they're not approved at this time. We have to create a record because these properties go on. And so just like Attorney Cronin said, he couldn't find the special conditions from 1972. We have to put in our decisions as much as we can, things to help future commissions when these things happen, because nobody remembers half the time because they weren't sitting in when the first decision was made. So
just to be clear, so like what if they really need that residential component for their interns and stuff? They have to come back for another application.
Back. We're just saying not approved at this time.
Got it. Okay.
Michael, I believe they're not even asking for it at this point. There's no.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah, just wasn't sure.
There's no residential request at this time.
Yep. There is a building there, and that's the only reason I'm saying that is just to say that that's not approved as part of the application.
Correct.
Yeah, staff, I would certainly thank you for doing that. It definitely gets complicated as buildings, especially as old as this one, move forward. And I think part of the reason they're not doing the residential component is also that would have complicated the fire marshal review, and it would have, not allowed them to expedite the application as quickly as they are now.
Okay.
Any other commission comments? Okay, then based upon that, I will ask for a motion that the special permit application for the Connecticut Audubon Society, Roger Torrey Peterson Estuary at 100 Lime Street be approved with the 4 conditions mentioned by Jane. And that is, and help me out here, Jane, there'd be no traffic study,
Tim, again, the traffic study is waived.
right?
The 49 additional parking spots are deferred until deemed necessary by the CEO acting on behalf of the zoning commission or the applicant.
Correct.
3, the water dependent use is found to be adequate as they have stated it. And 4, that no residential uses for the property are approved at this time.
Great. Okay, so based on that motion for approval, may I have a, because that's by Jane, right? Jane, you? And then I believe Alan seconded? Okay.
Yep.
And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Missing some.
Sorry, sorry. I'm good. I approve.
Okay, opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds exciting.
Good luck.
Thank you.
On a WebEx? No, right, yeah.
Okay. Item number 4. Special permit application to permit proposed field improvement which will modify the playing geometry and playing surface from manicured lawn to synthetic turf at the Old Lyme Regional High School located at 69 Lime Street. Tom Metcalf was supposed to be on the phone to qualify any issues that we had, but I don't think he's on, right? Is that right, Dan?
I don't believe so, but he did provide a memo to you guys with his review of the application. And I did bring up prior concerns.
Okay. Trying to see if I have that. Okay, so looks like he responded on November the 4th. Is that the one, Dan? I believe it is.
I believe so. I don't have that in
Yes.
front of me, but that sounds about right because it was a while ago I forwarded it to everybody.
Has everyone read that on the commission?
I think I read it a while ago too, and now I don't remember much.
Okay, well, let's go through this. We can. So he says that dear Mr. Beret, at your request, I have reviewed the plans and associated information you recently forwarded me regarding proposed synthetic turf field and associated drainage improvements at the Old Lyme High School at 69 Lime Street. I would like to offer the following for your consideration. Tom reviewed a set of project plans, 9 sheets total, prepared by Malone and McBroom Incorporated. Title sheet reflects a date of July 2nd, 2020. The special permit application, memorandum, and a memorandum from Chris Hulk, to Engineering Department dated July 1st. He said, number 2, in addition to reviewing the above information, I recently visited the site to view existing conditions. 3, presumably the synthetic turf is a proprietary product. The project plans do not specify the synthetic turf type or manufacturer. Therefore, I assume the details associated with the synthetic turf and collector drainage pipe system shown on sheet SD2 are compliant with the synthetic turf type and manufacturer's requirements and specifications for the application proposed at the Lime Old Lyme High School. I suggest the applicant confirm this. Additionally, it appears the sheet SD2 details for the synthetic turf and collector pipe system are general in nature and do not provide sufficient information for construction installation purposes. While perhaps not necessary for permitting purposes, prior to construction, I suggest the applicant provide the town with final construction plans and specifications for the project. Excuse me. Similar to the synthetic turf installation, additional information for the turf stone grid pavers, detail on sheet SD2 should be included on final plans to facilitate construction. Additional information and details for the French drain system should be included. The information and details should include elevators, materials, and construction details to facilitate installation. References sheet UT. Although grading note 3 on sheet GR and the existing conditions shown on sheet EX acknowledges the presence of the existing geothermal well system within the project area, presumably the layout and design of the synthetic turf field and associated drainage have considered potential conflicts and impacts to these proposed improvements, as well as to the existing geothermal well system. 7, I recommend that the construction installation of the synthetic turf and associated drainage be monitored / inspected by the design engineer to assure improvements are satisfactorily constructed. Additionally, I suggest that an as-built survey / plan horizontal and vertical / elevation be prepared of the drainage system to verify improvements have been constructed per design plans and for future reference. A copy of the as-built plan should be provided to the land use office. 8, given the lengths / runs of the 12-inch perforated collector drainage pipe, 873 linear feet and 170 linear feet, and the inclusion of angle bend points along the lengths / runs, consideration should be given to placing manholes and or accessible cleanouts along the pipe length at critical locations to facilitate future maintenance. 9, I did not review the playing fields, layouts, slope and dimensions, or the associated fencing for the fields. I assume the field layouts and fencing were developed in conjunction with the school and meet their use needs. 10, an elevation benchmark should be included on the plans to facilitate construction. 11, to avoid any misunderstanding of the intent of final landscape plantings, you may want to confirm the size, type, and number of shrubs. Reference sheet LA. 12, presumably the 8 fiberglass handholds shown on sheet LA are associated with the electrical conduits to be placed around the field perimeter as shown on sheet UT. 13, plan graphics of existing drainage pipes and flared end sections at the detention pond should be checked. In brackets, he's got FES in INV equals 7.6 feet is outlet from pond through the pond berm. Excuse me. FES 7.4 feet is outlet from pipe through pond beam. Reference is the sheet EX. Accordingly, the proposed 18-inch HDPE outlet pipe from the manhole to the detention pond should include a flared end section or other suitable outlet type and suitable scour protection at the pipe outlet. Reference sheet UT. 14, construction sequencing, procedures and timing is unclear. I suggest the plans include basic construction sequencing, procedures, and timing information. In addition to facilitating construction, this information is necessary to assist with implementing temporary erosion control measures during construction. I do not have email contact information for Malone and McBroom Incorporated or the regional school district. I would appreciate you forwarding a copy of this to them via email. Upon your review, please feel free to contact me should you have any questions or would like to discuss. Yours, very truly yours, Tom Metcalf. But the question I have was, did this get over to McBroom, to the engineers for the project, and did we get anything back from them?
So, Paul, unfortunately, the public hearing was closed, so the applicant couldn't provide any more information. So it was a moot point to provide the memo to them. The public hearing was closed at the September 14th meeting, and so the applicant can't provide any more information.
Okay. So,
I mean, at this time, maybe the commission could consider approving the application with the, requiring the applicant to, meet the conditions and that Mr. Metcalf has laid out. But it's up to you as to how you'd like to handle it.
So Dan, in the past, when things like this have occurred, while it isn't proper for information to be submitted directly to the commission in response, the staff people and people like Tom Metcalf have always been able to interact with the applicant. And the staff people can then report to us whether or not the applicant has addressed their issues. So that's how we've handled it before. Maybe you think that that's not good, but it has worked out pretty nicely after a public hearing is closed for somebody like Tom Metcalf to be able to speak with the engineers from another firm and sort of hammer out any issues. But I agree for this one, if that information wasn't given back to them, that we can just incorporate his recommendations in our approval and then leave it to you to make sure that the ones that are need to, if there are any changes that are needed, that we'll leave it to you as the CEO to work that out.
I mean, I guess it could be up to you. I could go either way. I have done the math on how much time the commission has left. The commission will meet one more time in January, in the second Monday in January, before the lengthened clock for the governor's executive order is up. I'd be happy to, run that by, Matt Willis and make sure that I can go ahead and do that and take that approach if the commission finds that favorable. If not, I'm comfortable with, working with the applicant and Tom to ensure they meet Tom's concerns based on his memo.
Right. I think that's what we want at this point. We don't want to keep kicking these things down the road because we get too many things on an agenda, which is true tonight.
Oh, I know. We've been very busy, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Right. And I would agree with Jane on that. But anyone else on the commission have any additional comments? Okay.
It's, Mr. Chair, Mike Miller, Dan. And so I can't vote on this. I did not attend the public meeting, obviously, but although I can't vote, I would certainly support Jane's recommendation so we can get this project moving forward.
Okay. That's right. I did forget about that. It's been a long night. We're on.
Right. So I believe we only have 3 members right now who are present through all the meetings. That would be Tammy, Jane, and yourself, Paul.
I think I was there
Alan's
too.
here.
Oh, Alan was there. Okay. Yep. Okay. I apologize, Alan.
Yeah, Alan is here. So we have 4.
And I go along with what's just been said.
Okay. So then, in that vein, then, I will take a motion that we approve the special permit to propose field improvement which will modify the geometry and playing surface field from manicured lawn to synthetic turf at the Lime Old Lyme Regional High School located at 69 Lime Street with the condition that all of the concerns in Tom Metcalf's letter to Dan Beret dated the 4th of November, 2020 are met.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jane, second.
I
Tammy?
see. Yep.
Tammy seconds. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes. Okay. The final item in the regular meeting, item number 5, goes back to the sewer improvements. Once again, I will turn the meeting back over to Alan to let Alan proceed as he sees fit at this time. Just to know that it's 10 o'clock, and Alan, back to you.
Thanks. Yeah, here we go. We got an awful lot of stuff to digest and consider, and let me ask, I wanted to confirm some questions with Tom. Is he still on the line or is he gone?
For some reason, I think there's some miscommunication in Tom's. I had requested Tom be on the call, but I don't believe he is.
I don't feel that we have had the opportunity to properly digest all that we've heard, and I wanted to suggest perhaps we can certainly begin some discussion. Anybody wants to pipe in, but I think it would be desirable to push this to the next meeting for further discussion and ask that we have in our hands before we start that meeting a draft of what would be the conditions going along with an acceptance of the application. You think we could achieve that, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm doing is I'm starting to type an email to send to myself so that I can coordinate that. And then I really think it would be valuable if, and I will push as hard as I possibly can to get Tom on the call for the next meeting, if that's what you deem necessary, so that he can provide direct feedback to any questions that you have.
Either that.
I mean, one basic question is, he has, if he had the benefit of participating in this meeting, I would want to hear him say, yes, they have satisfactorily answered all of my concerns, or I still see the following outstanding concerns. I mean, that's a starting point, but there's an awful lot there that I don't feel I've digested right yet. Others, please speak up.
I agree. Usually you get a response from Tom as to the responses that Mr. Otis and his company have supplied. So there's probably 99% that would be deemed satisfied, and we kind of need to hear back from Tom that that's the case.
Yeah, I want that confirmation.
Yeah, and I also don't feel at this point that I'm prepared to make a motion and know all the things that I need to list or not list. So I really would rather have some assistance on that.
And we got a very angry public out there on some issues that have a legal case to them, and I'm not sure I adequately or fully understand the appropriate. Are we to absolutely take Matt Willis's statement and
I can give a little bit of a flavor for that it's true that we are not the enforcers of private restrictions. We can impose restrictions, but we're not the enforcers of private restrictions. So when someone comes to a zoning commission and says, well, you can't approve something because of a private restriction, we're supposed to be determining land use. And if it were a public restriction, we could say no, but with a private one, it's not really up to us to enforce it. And I know that the public that appeared tonight didn't really understand that, but it's not up to us to enforce that particular restriction. So the fact that it was supposed to have been an open space parcel, and yet it's still being proposed for a obviously non-recreational use, is not something that we could use as the sole reason to say yay or nay, because it's a private restriction.
Yeah, that came through pretty clearly in what he wrote. And it seems like there's still some, the various beach associations down there, some of their members don't fully understand what their management leadership did. And there's some squabbling down there that I don't know that we should be getting into.
Yeah, we run into this kind of intersection where we're looked at as the hopeful source for all the resolutions of everything that's going on. And of course, we can't perform that function, even though there's a lot of hope on the part of people that come before us and give testimony. So we can only do those things that we're legally authorized to do. So in this case, we may not be able to do one of the things, or maybe more than one of the things that some of the people who spoke tonight want us to. But I feel comfortable that we aren't allowed to.
I agree. Other comments?
I've been remiss to have Matt Willis on the line, partly out of monetary concerns, but if you would feel more comfortable, since I am going to do my darndest to make sure Tom is on the call in January, to have Matt on the call, since I believe it'll be we shouldn't have too many other applications. I'd be willing to reach out to him just so he could explain some of this stuff a little further if that's what you feel is necessary. I do feel Jane is laying things out basically very similar to the conversations I've had with Matt, though.
I don't know that we need to hear it a second time if it's going to be the same as what he wrote, and unless there's other sidebars to it that we need to know more about. How do others
Not
feel?
that I'm aware of. I just want to make sure you guys have as much all the information that you feel is necessary to make a conclusion and make a vote that you feel comfortable with.
I think Tiff said something earlier that she wanted to see yet another plan, a different plan, and I wasn't sure what she meant by that, but maybe she could help right now.
I said it.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah. No, I wanted to see, if there was another location, and I think, what was his name that spoke? Wayland said that there were other spots investigated but they didn't say where.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just too sensitive right now to the homeowners to even make a decision. I think I need to just listen a little bit more, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, it's Mike. In order to be eligible to vote at when the time comes, is there you mentioned there was a YouTube or some sort of video to bring up to speed?
Yeah, I guess this is a kind of ironic, but just in terms of a record of what's happening at the meetings, I guess one thing with the WebEx is all the meetings that we're doing are going to be on YouTube. So I actually reviewed the September meeting today on the Fuss and O'Neill, on the turf field, just to refresh myself in case you guys had questions. And in terms of the record of vote, so yeah, if you want, Mike, you can search for it via YouTube, or I can help you. But yeah, if you reviewed the past meeting and the information presented, that would allow you to be eligible to be seated in the future.
And was that the September or the October meeting?
It would have been the November meeting.
November meeting.
November meeting.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Others have comments? Well, maybe.
I'd just be interested.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Michael.
No, somebody else can go first.
You got
I think it was you, Michael.
Yeah,
you're up.
I would be interested to see Tom Metcalf's opinion on, if it was cited next to a different location on the site further closer to the railroad tracks, like I've been talking about the whole time from a technical standpoint. But other than that, that's the only question I have.
Okay, I certainly, once again, will do everything in my power to get him on this call next meeting.
Not your
once
fault.
Again, part of this might be my fault because I had an extended stay in Cleveland where for family medical reasons I didn't anticipate to be in Cleveland today, and then I had to quarantine for COVID at the prior week, so things have gotten screwed up a little bit. And honestly, Kim had to pull a little extra weight. Well, I feel like there's some context I needed to give.
Well, why don't we, it's getting late too. Why don't we cut it off here, or unless someone has something they definitely want to say, and just move this to further discussion at the next meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I guess we'll invite Paul back on the line. Paul, you there?
I'm looking for my cursor. Hey. Okay, you're done with 5?
We're going to pick it up next meeting for further discussion.
Okay. All right, agenda item 6 of 10. New business, municipal referral of the plan of conservation and development. Dan, is that was what we turned over to? Go ahead.
Well, so yeah, you guys submitted your comments. Planning took those comments and incorporated the portions that they felt that they wanted to include into the document, and so they're finalized that draft. And basically, now there's a 65-day comment period before it can be approved, and so that's kind of what I wanted to let you guys know. And I certainly can provide that draft document to you all to see, what changes they made. They did make some changes based on your comments.
Okay. Do you have that draft?
But yes, back at town hall, and I can get that to you. I believe it should be posted on the town website as well. I'd have to double check with Kim. I was unfortunately.
No worries about that. There's no worries about that. But if you can either send it out, or if Kim can tell us where to go on the town website, that would be great.
Absolutely, I will do that.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, the next 2 items, the Coastal Resilience Adaptation Study is tabled for further research, and the Hazard Mitigation Plan update is ongoing. And so is item 7, the electric charging stations, although that is beginning to creep, which is good.
I had sent you an email that a resident had sent to you, Paul, that we had talked about. They had requested you read.
Ah, yes. Yes, that was about the turf field, right?
No, it's the EV charging station. There's a small group of residents in town who have interest in having some regulations done, and they had forwarded an email that they had requested be read.
Okay, let me get to that on my trusty iPhone. Okay. So we don't know who this person was, but this was submitted.
Well, it's indicated in their email, I think.
Oh, at the end. Look at that.
It's a resident. Yeah.
It's coming from 3 people: Charlotte Scott, Barbara Novick, and Jocelyn Jenick. And this was provided to Dan. So which is the first one, which I don't understand. This is what does this comment regard? Request for information.
Just go down into the meat of the email. They sent it via the town website, and that's
okay.
Through the town website, not directly to me.
Here we go. Okay. I am the moderator of a group on Facebook known as eCool, Electric Cars of Old Lyme. Members of the group are owners of a variety of electric vehicles produced by Chevrolet, Nissan, BMW, Tesla, etc. In 2020/21, the following manufacturers will be putting EVs on the market in the US: Audi, BMW, Chevrolet, Ford, Hyundai, Jaguar, Kia, Mazda, Mercedes, Mini Cooper, Nissan, Porsche, Tesla, Volvo, and VW. As of 2021, Volvo will only be producing EVs, as will Bentley. Even the Hummer is going electric by 2022. My point is, in listing all these manufacturers, to increase your awareness of the popularity of EVs in the market. While only 12,000 cars in Connecticut are EVs, there are over 1.6 million electric vehicles on US roads. A number of countries have already banned the sale of new fossil fuel vehicles as soon as 2030. We have several charging stations for electric cars in Old Lyme. Old Saybrook has more. None are fast, which are the FAST is a type of charging system. I'm adding this just for clarification. It's a level 3 charger that allow complete recharging of a vehicle in about 30 minutes. The majority of charging stations in Connecticut are level 2. Total charging takes about 3 hours. All EVs, with the exception of Teslas, use the J1772 charging system. There is an adapter for Tesla. And then it's signed Charlotte Scott, Barbara Novick, and Jocelyn Jenick. And I think this is what's driving our incentive to update our electric vehicle zoning regulations. However, it's not up to the zoning commission to regulate where these go and how they're put in. These are usually private enterprises that go ahead and make contracts, I guess, with manufacturers to place these public stations in, having to come to the zoning commission for approval. So that being said, we can just, I guess, enter the letter into the record as information. Anyone else have any comments on that? Okay, it's been read and entered. And item 7, electric charging stations moving forward. Or the zoning regulations, for electric charging stations is moving forward. Item 8 is going to go real fast, approval of minutes that we don't have.
Okay, I'll give a quick update on that. I got some good news. So the person who used to do the minutes is now not doing the minutes anymore. But we have found someone within the town to start doing the minutes. I'm going to meet with her. It's probably this week when I get back and I get cleared COVID clearance. And she will get started on taking care of that. She's a very, from what I know, she's a very nice person. And so she was recommended to me through the finance department. So we should start getting on a normal path there.
That's great.
Just a comment about minutes. For the public hearing that we just had on on the sewer. It would be very helpful if we could go back and read through the discussion that we got from the public before we go, make our final decisions. And that means that the minutes for the November 9th and today's meeting be done, and so that we can read them before our January meeting. I don't know whether that's possible or not, but that would be very helpful if it could be.
So I can try to do that, but also per Mike Miller's question, all these meetings are recorded and posted on YouTube, so you could view that portion of the meeting in November and in December once it's posted in the next week or so, in order to replay that exact video and see the people, see their comments, who's making what. So that is available already. So, and I can help you, Alan, if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, when you have that,
go ahead.
When you can send out how to find that YouTube, send it along. I would find it helpful. Maybe we all would.
Yes, I was going to suggest that, Dan, if you can send it out to all of us, or at least guidance as to how to access, as Alan says.
Yeah, it'll be real simple. What I'll do is I'll just send out a link to the YouTube video, and you can click on them. It'll bring you right to the video. And if need be, I can find a timestamp that you can fast forward to that particular part of the meeting.
Oh, that would be great.
And I'll just add, everyone, it's Michelle, that the way you can access the YouTube channel, you just go to the Old Lyme website, the town page, and on the left-hand side under quick links, there's something that says meeting recordings. You just click that and it goes right to the town's YouTube channel.
Ah.
Easy peasy.
Easy. That's great.
Very good.
Dan, you just may be off the hook. So, town website.
I'm still going to do it.
Okay.
I'll still provide that for you guys.
So, Michelle, homepage on the left?
Yep, on the homepage on the left-hand side says meeting recordings, and it goes right to our YouTube channel that has all our board and commission meetings on it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Number 9 of 10. Ready? Correspondence. Dan, anything there?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Number 10, we're here. Anything of the miscellaneous nature?
We definitely broke Mike Miller in for his first meeting.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yes, we did.
I ate first, so I'm good.
You can make the motion to adjourn.
Yeah. I agree with that. Can you make a motion to adjourn, Mike?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
In a second.
Second.
All in favor. Good night.
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much for all your help. If I even though it was very, very long, I think we had a great meeting.
Yeah, I find these very difficult myself.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Find some joy in the holidays.
Yes.
Good night.
Yeah, have a happy holiday, everyone. Stay
Enjoy.
safe.
See ya.
Take care.